All right, I'm here. A few minutes late, but I'm here. I want to shout out New York City for being bitterly cold today, man. Man, you talk about frigid. It is freezing out there. Uh, if it's cold in your neck of the woods, man, drop a one for me in the chat. If it's really cold where you are right now, that'll also let me know that you guys can, in fact, hear my voice today. Shoot Breeze episode 228, man. We're making our way through it. Um, the matron drops a one. It's cold where she is, and she can hear me. Yeah, it's something else out here, man. I was out there for quite a bit today. Had to deal with the elements. Was not fun. You guys know the deal. But before I get to telling you what we're discussing tonight, I see the matron, and make sure you guys are tuned in. Subscribe to the matron's channel. That's our matron. She's doing her readings of selected texts, and she's having discussions. I feel like she would appreciate having more people to discuss things with. Make sure you follow her lives, attend, let her know that you're there. Even though sometimes I don't let her know that I'm there, but let her know that you're there and engage with her if you have the time to do so. Also, check out all the other shows on KWAZ Radio as well. What do we have in store tonight? Let me just get right through it. We're going to discuss who defines empire. Who defines empire? We're going to discuss that it's enough about African democracy. We're going to discuss the alt-right you haven't heard about. The alt-right you have not heard about. We're going to talk about the Epstein files today as well. I just realized something didn't come through on that. But we're going to talk about the Epstein files in relationship to wanting to take power. Let me just add, too, by the way, when you guys put up prompts, please don't put images like emojis in the prompt because they don't copy paste. Well, I just realized that with this prompt here. We're going to talk about how a Caribbean person, Black Caribbean person, is responsible for the creation of Black History Month being pushed from a week to a month. So those are the conversations we're going to have tonight. We're going to have a panelist or two that you haven't seen in a while join us tonight, so do stay tuned. What I'm going to do is start the show officially, and on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number one, as well as introduce any and all of my panelists. So do stay tuned. Hit the like button, share the show. In the meantime,
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-black perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Make sure you also tune in to Brother Bakari's BBN Network. Spoke to Brother Bakari this morning, a true Gaviite. Make sure to keep up with everyone that he has contacts for. So shout out to Brother Bakari. Make sure subscribe to his network, BBN Network, and encourage him to make a return to podcasting. Also, check out the Forecast Radio. I was able to tune in to his last episode with Considerate Cheek. Also, Reverend the Bush, check her out as well. Tune into all of them, man. They all have something interesting to say. With that said, side note, I know YouTube plays a game with the numbers. Just a side, I just noticed it. When I started the show, there was like 18 people. It dropped to 6, then it went to 9, now it's 14. Just interesting how YouTube messes around with it. With that said, man, let me introduce my panelists who are with me so far. That would be one, Jackadero. I haven't heard from you in a while, brother. How are you?
What's going on, man? It's good to be back. Koku, what up? I'm here. I'm blessed, and it's an honor to be here.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for coming through. Just a quick question, Jackadero. How's that full-time thing? Or is it full-time or is it every night, week? How's that going?
So right now it's not to give out too much information, Koku, but it's about to be full-time. Right now it's just part-time, but the part-time, it makes it difficult for me to be on Saturdays. But this month we'll be starting full-time, and don't worry, I'll be back and giving you guys everything that Koku delivers when he's not able to deliver.
Yeah, appreciate that, brother. We'll talk. Black Seal is with us. Black Seal, how are you this week?
I'm doing great, Koku. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm doing okay. Thanks for coming through. By the way, I emailed you like yesterday or so look out for that. With that said, man, let's get right into it then. Shoot the breeze topic number 1 tonight. By the way, if you're out there in the chat hearing my voice, don't leave the matron alone. Pressing number 1. Identify yourselves, man. Who's out there? If you're out there in the chat, drop a 1. Let the folks know that you're here hanging out with us as well. Shoot the breeze topic number 1 says, who defines empire? This is interesting. Side note, I think I might have mentioned this last week, but a young lady, it seems, on X, hopefully the young lady, she said something along the lines of, I'm going to paraphrase heavily here. She said something along the lines of, if black folks think that we're just, I want to get this right. If the black folks think we're just going to lay up, or black folks think that she is just going to lay up and blow black men under the idea of Pan-Africanism, that she'll prefer to stay under empire. So when I saw this prompt come up, it took me back to that. Did anyone else happen to see that post on Twitter? I think I reposted it.
I saw it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, just quickly, what were your thoughts on that, Black Steel?
She was a feminist, and feminists believe the primary contradiction in society is between men and women. right? So she was basically saying that, black men being in control would be worse than white men being in control somehow. But her whole thing is, fight the patriarchy, no matter if it's male or female. But she's missing over the fact that black men don't have a patriarchy.
Absolutely. What's interesting, she said she would rather stay up under empire. That's all the things she said she wouldn't do under black men, she'll gladly do under empire. That's that's cold blooded. But anyway, Trigger Happy saw it. He says, "Oh, I know the exact convo you're talking about." Shout out to Daily Affirmation by Pauline, by the way. He goes on to say, Trigger does, those feminists were slandering Lumumba on purpose. They reopened their case and lied on him. Feminists counterintelligence, in my opinion. I appreciate that. Also, shout out to Caleb on 7, who's out there in the chat with us tonight. I appreciate you. Like I said, my Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. Let me get this right. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. Who defines empire? It came with this link. You guys can see on my screen. It's a short video. We'll play it. Oh boy, Frank Zano again. We'll play it and then we'll discuss.
Africa has ever had one empire. Ask the person to define empire. What is an empire? That will settle its region, its continent. Okay? That is an empire. And it has kingdoms. When they say kingdom, it's two.
So I had to pause it. My computer did something. Strange once again. Let me reshare it because I lost audio for some reason. Let me share it again. Let me share my screen. So we'll do this again. Well, I'll try. I'll play it twice. I'll play it from where it stopped for me, and then I'll play it again one time through.
Had dominion in the Middle East and had dominion in America. The French Empire had dominion in West Africa, had dominion in Asia and other places. The Dutch Empire under King Leopold had a dominion in the Congo. The king has a dominion, so it's a kingdom. So what is an empire? An empire is an establishment, administrative, of a culture, a society, but it has been able to go outside its geography and conquer the place and leave footprints, language, religion, education, lifestyle. So please, the East African Empire you're talking about, point a place outside East Africa where it left its footprints. And next time somebody said Africa has ever had one empire, ask the person to define empire. What is an empire? That will settle this for you. Why do they call them empire? An empire has to have footprints outside its region, its continent. Okay? That is an empire. And it has kingdoms. When they say kingdom, it's two words put together. The king has dominion, which means the king of the UK or the English had dominion in Africa, had dominion in Asia, had dominion in the Middle East, and had dominion in America. The French Empire had dominion in West Africa, had dominion in Asia, and other places. The Dutch Empire under King Leopold had a dominion in the Congo. The king has a dominion, so it's a kingdom. So what is an empire? An empire is an establishment, administrative, of a culture, a society, but it has been able to go outside its geography and conquer the place and leave footprints, language, religion, education, lifestyle. So please, the East African Empire you're talking about, point a place outside East Africa where it left its footprints. And next time somebody says,
all right, I think we get the gist of what Frank Zanu is talking about. Let's look at a couple of comments here. Someone said, sarcastically, Minnesota doesn't count. Someone else says, I'm learning a lot from this man. He's not criticizing. He's shedding light. Someone else says, I think Africa had just powerful tribal groups, but none matured to become empire. So someone says, thank you for the education, good sir. Another person says, thanks, Zanu. For very clear and detailed information. Someone else glazes him and says, Zanu is crazy smart. So let's talk about it. What is an empire and who defines it? Before we do that, though, let's welcome in our brother Buana this week. Buana, how are you?
Shout out to you, Koku. Can everybody hear me? Because this earphone I have is kind of janky. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah,
Loud and clear.
Great.
Oh, shout out to everyone. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. You know, I'm just getting it, so I'm here.
Buana, did you happen to see that video that I just played?
I saw this last week. And
Okay.
for my opinions on this is for anyone, you know, just go on AI mode on your phone. So and then type in the word empire, and it'll explain what an empire is. There is two types of empires. One empire is a contiguous empire, which you don't necessarily have to go outside of the borders of your continent. If anyone heard of this person called Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan ruled the largest empire besides the British. He is known for that. And his empire extended from the most eastern part of Asia almost into the UK. So it extended outside of his region itself. You know, so that's what so you don't have to be, you can have a contiguous empire where you don't have to go outside of the continent itself. Then you could have empires like the British, where the empire extend outside of the continent, where you find the British in India and Africa and all over the place. He doesn't describe that. He just describes an empire based off his situation, where France came and colonized the Benin. And the crazy thing about it is Benin had an empire as well. And this guy is from Benin. Benin had an African empire that extended outside of the borders of the everything he is defining. Just type in AI mode and type in empire. Then after that, type in whether Africans had an empire. And one of the empires they had, it was the Benin Empire. And this person is from Benin. You have to be careful with sometimes the internet sometimes, because this guy, he speaks very well and he's articulate. But it's important that people do their own research, because there are things that he is reframing the definition of what empire is, or he is not detailed in explaining what an empire is. And when you don't do that, you would think only Europeans had empires and Africans did not. When that is just not true. It's not true. So you have to be careful with the internet. This brother I think he is a journalist. You know, I don't know what his background, I think it's in journalism. You know, but he is speaking as an authority on what empires are. And he seems to be articulate until you do your research to find out it's just partly not true. One of the largest empires that's ever, you know, came around was the Mongol Empire, run by Genghis Khan, and he had a dynasty of people. He almost took over the whole of Europe, and it was still on the continent of Europe itself, or Asia itself, because Asia is connected to Europe and all these other parts. But how this guy reframes, he said, well, you have to be outside. It's just ridiculous. And I would just tell the people, just do your research. But I'm going to take a break for 5 minutes. Coco, I'll be back.
Yeah, yes, sir. Do your thing. I appreciate how you set that up. Jacadero, what say you? He's talking about the East. He's talking about East Africa. Interestingly enough, what are your thoughts on what Frank Zanu had to say?
This guy, man, I've been seeing this guy all through third quarter, fourth quarter 2025, and then now in 2026, it seems like the internet cannot let go of him. He's had controversial takes from what I've seen. I don't know where to start with this guy. He seems like he wants to just be a contrarian, just to be a contrarian, because he knows that gets views. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a whole entire management that's pushing him. And okay, that's fine. All right, so who defines an empire? And his question of has Africa ever had an empire, especially existing outside of the continent of Africa? If I can share my screen here, let's take a look. Give me a moment. And let's see what is an empire? And it's a large-scale political system or state that exerts dominant and often coercive control over diverse, independent, and peripheral territories and peoples. All right, cool. So we can go to my first example to answer his question is here in the United States, and it is the Otunji African village in South Carolina. This is a Yoruba empire that exists in the United States. It still exists. You guys can still visit it. It's near Seabrook, South Carolina is what I'm saying. I've had a personal friend go and visit, send back photos and videos of this village. So, that's just one example. The other example is somebody already said it in the chat, but Minnesota, they say that. I think they say this more as an insult and to be antagonistic towards the Somali community of Minnesota, but the flag, the modern flag of the Minnesota state flag, there was pushback when it was first revealed because it resembled a lot of not the Somali national flag, but Somali has states within their country, and one of their Somali state flags resembles almost identically to the modern Minnesota state flag. So the second example might not serve its purpose to answer his question, but the first one, if he wants to talk about empires, the Yoruba tribe has itself a large empire that still exists today, and it still has a place in the United States that, again, you can go and visit. I'm not sure on where this guy is coming from. The stuff that I've heard him say in the past, it just sounds like he has an issue. And it sounds like he has an issue with being African. I would be willing to go as far and say it maybe, just maybe, this guy had such a hard time getting citizenship. I don't know if he lives in America or lives in the UK, but it just sounds like with his Benin passport, it gave him so much of a headache to try to get inside these countries, try to get a visa. And so he's blamed it on just being African. And so now the rest of us have to suffer. I think they say, woe is me. He is the personification of woe is me. The things that I've seen from him, and if I had a chance to talk to him, I'd just be like, what's up, man? Just because your visa was denied for applications on all these different Western countries, that doesn't mean that you need to hate where you come from. You can't take that back. You can't take back your parents' meeting and your dad, bending over your mom in that 1987 Pigot and having you. That's not our fault.
Yeah, I can hear your frustration there, Jackadero. Let's welcome in our brother, Real Black Gentleman. RBG, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I came in. I didn't see the whole video, but I know a little bit about the Zenu dude. Empire. I mean, there's Mali Empire. Egypt was an empire. I mean, empire is a state of when it's something. If we're going to say empire, to me, when I think about a term that I'm uncertain of, I think about terms that are related to the term. If something is empirical, it's basically it's a fact, like that's self-evident, right? It's It's a certain state of being that persists. That's the thing about an empire. It has a persistent character about its internal operation that allows it to just self-perpetuate. It doesn't have to be big. You can have small empires relatively. I don't know how big the Benin Empire was, but if it's an empire, it's the nature of a state that is firm and that perpetuates over a period of time, on dynastic time scales, where it's just, no matter however the rulership changes, the whole state apparatus in, the predictability of succession remains the same. It's a state of being. I mean, it's that's the thing with someone. I guess suppose there's a difference between a king and an emperor, because I mean, emperors have succession too, but a monarchy doesn't really have the same weight that of state self-perpetuation that I'm trying to say that just any old classic monarchy does. Monarchies can be empires. The British monarchy, had the British Empire. I mean, it's like it's like people say America's an empire by, again, its state of self-perpetuation on itself. It doesn't crumble. The borders are incredibly tight. It's like it's a self-perpetuating machine. It's the beast, right? So there's Mali. Mali was an empire. It doesn't make it. See, like someone has said he's a contrarian, and I'm glad that they said that, because that's kind of like what it seems like. He'll make something very simple, and then he'll go out of his way to to try to make a point, to try to add on to, his whole diction is, well, you see, and if you pay attention, he does a lot of, his whole cadence and voice seems a lot like he's trying to draw attention to something else besides, what it's an empire. There's countries, there's nations, you know what I'm saying, there's little states, there's, you know what I'm saying, and there's, you know what I'm saying, empires, you know what I'm saying, it's different, you know what I'm saying. It's not that hard if you understand what empire and empiricism and what's empirical, and it's a state of being that persists. That's all. It's real simple.
Appreciate that, RBG. In the chat, couple of comments happen here. Trick Happy says, whatever definition we set about something tells us exactly the orientation we have succumbed to. It's exactly why we have to reorient that training, and especially in our language. He goes on to say the fault lines of this debate of what empire is definitely is an issue of language too. In African languages, we may have something different compared to the definition of empire in English. He says, ultimately, ZANU just wants to deliberately belittle African history and African power. He wants to say they had not impact in spite of African power in Asia and Europe. They had no impact in spite of African power in Asia and Europe. Lastly, Trigger says, Comdiverse has also established that there was African presence in the Americas as well. ZANU is just a worse Soil. KW Don 7 says Frank ZANU is problematic at best. Shout out to Brother Bakari, who's out in the chat, says peace and Black African power, Black African family. Shout out to Brother Bakari. Trigger says here, ultimately, if Black people had presence in all continents, I guess, empire building will always involve Black people in all continents and regions as well, not limited to just Africa, but originating from Africa. So good comments in the chat, guys. Keep the comments rolling. I will highlight them here on the screen. Why can't I find the original prompt? That's interesting. But with that said, man, Black Steel, what say you? Who defines empire? And do you agree with what Buana defined as the definitions of empire, Black Steel?
Well, I more or less agree with what Born is saying, and everybody else has said. This ZANU dude, every time I hear him talk, he's really coming across as counterintelligence to me. Because first of all, who gave him a microphone? Who gave him a platform? I mean, I don't recall hearing about this person. He shows up one day and he starts giving these definitive definitions and then wants to show up and show how black people are somehow not meeting his standard. Like, for example, when he defined empire, right? He added something on there that's not on the definition of empire. He added across continents, right? Like, in order to be an empire, you got to be on more than one continent. First of all, who defines a continent? First of all. Second of all, who said that? Because when I look at the definition of empire, I got, everybody has a computer in their hand nowadays. You can just look it up. It said an extensive group of states or countries under a single supreme authority, especially, so there's nothing about it has to be a global empire. Empires can be regional. I want to mention the empire of the Mongols. But even one of the largest empires in the Americas, the Inca were located in the Andes Mountains of South America. So by his definition of empire, right, he just excluded every non-white group of people, as if the Europeans have it best, and they've created it, they defined it. So we have to go by their definitions of things, and even by their definition, even if you were to take the European definition of things, African empires were existed. He mentioned, real black gentleman mentioned Kemet, right? Kemet was probably one of the first global empires. They controlled most of North Africa, all the way into the Levant. So what are we talking about here? This guy is just running his mouth. But who is he? I believe personally, this man is set up to be some sort of counterintelligence agent. The powers that be understand they can't stop the flow of information, so they pollute it, right? So now they have you questioning what's real and what's not real, what's true and what's not true. You send this guy, he has he has an accent, he looks official, but he only sounds smart to stupid people. Because like everyone on this panel has said, even by his definition, there were African empires, right? But who is he to define empire? He pulled a definition out of his ass, and now he's measuring stuff by his own shitty definitions of things. It's really quite ridiculous. This man has been given a platform, and I'm wondering why. Because I've heard him other things. He is literally going against every movement towards unity of African people. He has a problem with it. He has a problem with it. He attacks our history. He attacks our organization. I don't know what else he could be considered other than an agent and a counterintelligence officer.
I'm telling you, it's because his visa was rejected for whatever country that he's got citizenship in now.
It's funny enough. I was talking to Brother Bakari. I think it was earlier today. I definitely spoke to him earlier today, but I think the conversation came up earlier today of, we got to get to a point where, like Black Steel kind of alluded to, when we see these people suddenly arise, like, I didn't know who this guy was until I think Jacado mentioned like the second quarter of 2025. Sorry, the last quarter of 2025. And all of a sudden he's on all these different platforms. Black Steel made mention of who gives him a mic. We have another prompt coming up next week, I think, on that. Who keeps giving this guy a mic? And I gotta agree with Black Steel. This guy has to have been pushed out there. And here's the thing about being pushed out there. You don't have to be groomed necessarily to get pushed out there. You just have to be an idiot who's just talking a bunch of nonsense that's in our case, anti-Black, anti-Pan-African, and they will push you out there. They'll have you out there saying some of the most silliest things. Because I saw this video last week and I said, wait a minute, what does he mean we didn't have empires? And I think it goes to a comment that Trigger mentioned earlier. I don't think I read it, but or maybe I did. But he basically was trying to say Africans not having empire is a code word, and this is Trigger Happy's words, by the way. It's a code word for African people not having civilization. So, which goes along with some of the other things you've seen him talk about. He acts like African folks was just nothing, just mindless entities on the continent, just ripe for the picking. I have to echo KW Don's words. He says this guy's problematic at best. I Can Fire is in the chat. He says, what about Genghis Khan? He didn't cross any ocean. Yeah, Bonner touched on that. Bonner was the first person to speak on this, and he touched exactly on Genghis Khan. Lastly, KW Don 7 says Zanu is a coon. Is any last thoughts from any of the panel members on?
I do. The thing about this dude I don't like is his name, right? When I think ZANU, I think ZANU PF, the Zimbabwe African National Union. That's the only ZANU I recognize. You know what I'm saying? I don't recognize this dude. I don't know why he has. It's like he's bad sauce, man. He's bad fish. You know what I'm saying? He's bad fish. Everything about him is off kiltered, man. And like you know what I'm saying? Just, you know, however he keeps getting like amped up. Yeah, he ain't saying nothing. He's not PLO Lumumba. He's not even close. That's all I got to say.
Well said there, RBG. If there's no other thoughts, Brother McCartney chat says the Ottoman Turks didn't cross waters. Yeah, there's so many examples, right? I don't know what this guy Frank is talking about. But you know, if there's no other last thoughts here, let's move on to Shooter Breeze topic number 2, man. Who defines empire as wild? Shooter Breeze topic number 2 says enough about African democracy. Enough about African democracy. Let me see. Yeah, you guys should be able to see my screen. This is another kind of short. I'll play it probably twice to make sure that we catch everything.
Position parties are the gatekeepers of power, the flip side of the same coin, the preferred dance partners of the current leaders. And if you carefully scrutinize some political parties, you realize their goal isn't necessarily to win, but rather to stay in the pockets by hypnotizing and pacifying the masses into believing in the existence of a countering force to prevent the disruption of the system by the people while everyone gets paid except the people. Therefore, in instances where the opposition gain power, their leadership is worse than those they once allegedly opposed. You see, African leaders do not fear the people enough. And perhaps the question we never ask, who funds all those political parties? And this should give us a clear indication of where their loyalty lies and who are their masters. Wait, Nini? Some African opposition parties are the gatekeepers of power. The flip side of the same coin, the preferred dance partners of the parties, you'll realize their goal isn't necessarily to win, but rather to stay in the pockets by hypnotizing and pacifying the masses into believing in the existence of a countering force to prevent the disruption of the system by the people while everyone gets paid except the people. Therefore, in instances where the opposition gain power, their leadership is worse than those they once allegedly opposed. You see, African leaders do not fear the people enough. And perhaps the question we never ask, who funds all those political parties? And this should give us a clear indication of where their loyalty lies and who are their masters. Wait, Nini?
I saw a tweet, I think it was today or yesterday. I forgot where on the continent, but maybe it was Ghana. I can't remember. But someone went to like a politician. A reporter went to a politician and said, "Hey, man, I hear you guys are just buying votes. And the politician was a female. She said, listen, that's a part of the game. You buy votes. If so and such over there ain't buying votes, then that's on them. And it made me really think about the whole thing of who's really funding these politicians. You know, that's a kind of a long running question. Who's funding these people? And you know, when you go to study it, it's not our people funding them. So therefore, their loyalties are not with us. Not only that, they don't fear us. I was thinking about that in terms of like my own little country. I would hate for it to get to, you know, to the worst extent, but I feel like sometimes in these small little countries and stuff like that, sometimes you need to go and route these folks out. You've had this two-party, basically a two-party system going back and forth in leadership. And this is not just in my little country. This is all across the Caribbean and Africa. Two-party system, taking turns, right? Making their money, filling their pockets. Meanwhile, ain't nothing going on new and enterprising for the people. And the people is just kind of sitting around hoping that when the next guy gets his turn, he'll do something more. It's like, nah, at some point, we have to take we're going to have to get on that mindset of, no, we'll go in there and snatch you up out of this seat of power and make things happen, you know, for us, which is also why, by the way, you know, when we talk about African-centered education, you don't find it strange. I mean, I used to find it strange that in all these African nations, and by the way, I'm including places like the Caribbean, no one has officially really adopted like an African set. It's because they're following the European model of keep people dumb. To keep people dumb, they'll just follow orders. They'll just follow rhetoric. They won't push back. They won't fight back. They won't take things into their own hands. And I really believe that is something that we got to work on wherever we call a place an African nation. We got to stop being able to take some things into our own hands sometimes, because these guys, they ain't fairing you. They fairing the people who are putting money in their pockets. With that said, man, let me start with Jackador. Jackador, what's it?
Yeah, so, you know, enough about African democracy. This is a touchy subject for a lot of us that have either grown up on the continent or still have direct family members like siblings or parents still back on the continent, and seeing exactly on how much their livelihood is reflective upon, or how politics reflects upon their livelihood. You know, the government in power in your country, in your city, in your state, in your jurisdiction, it can mean the difference into you surviving your taxi business, your cleaning business, your apartment business. You know, so for instance, real estate, you know, you could have it made where your grandfather handed down an apartment building, and all you're doing is maintaining accommodation for your tenants. But then the next minister of parliament can come in and decide, hey, that area needs to be demolished because we're building, I don't know, I mean, a new mall. And then that's it. You know, what are you going to do? I say all that to say, you know, it reminds me of a talking point that has came up in the last like 3 years among, I don't like to address these guys because they don't deserve my breath. I want to say this again. These guys do not deserve my breath or energy, but you guys will get it today. And that's the FBA, the Foundational Black Americans. Yes, you guys have your own ethnicity. Okay, that's cool. That's awesome. Cool. But where you guys are wrong is saying, how come these Black immigrants don't go back to their country and take over? You know, hey, you have bad governance. Well, go and fix that. What do you think has been happening? What? And maybe some FBAs don't watch the global news and don't see like, hey, there are coup attempts happening damn near every month on the continent. Yeah, in the Caribbean, you name it. You look at, I think I saw on the news, Trinidad and Tobago is being looked at poorly by Grenada's, I believe the current prime minister is Dickon Mitchell, because Trinidad and Tobago has agreed to have the United States use one of their airports as a launching pad to execute imperialism against Venezuela. Yeah, that's right. Hit it. To use Trinidad and Tobago's one of their airports as a launching pad for fighter jets against for imperialism against anybody that sees anything wrong with them taking over Venezuelan oil tankers and offshore oil refineries. I say that to say this democracy thing, it hasn't worked. Most African countries have gotten their independence since the 1960s, 1970, either 1960s or 1970s. Since then, especially in West Africa, they call it now the coast of coups. They call especially the ECOWAS countries, the coast of coups for a reason. People are sick and tired. Like, how is it that we continue to elect, but yet it feels like my vote didn't mean anything because the business that my grandfather gave me or the business that I just started, it's not bringing me out of poverty. In fact, I'm neck and neck with the poverty line, but yet I own my own business. I own a taxi. I own cleaning. I have real estate. How does this make any sense? For those, I know this is kind of, I'm kind of going on a tangent here about FBAs, but when I hear FBAs talk on the internet and say, why don't you go back and fix your countries? That's what people are doing. That's what people are doing. Coups are happening. Coups are just happening just because people are bored, just because people are waking up and saying, man, instead of smoking hookah and drinking Jack Daniels or Jameson or Johnny Walker Black today, I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to run a coup on this government, man. I'm talking about because I'm just kind of bored, man. I'm talking about, like, Keisha down the street. Yeah, she ain't it's cool. It's cool, trying to talk to her every day. But today, I think I want to go ahead and try to run into this parliament building. No, people have seen repeated behaviors of ignorance. I mean, I can go on and on. I don't want to take much more of my time, but this democracy, it's not only just enough. It hasn't worked. Koku has a saying during his commercial breaks: African solutions for African problems. Democracy is not an African solution. Point blank, period.
Absolutely. With that said, man, let's hear from Black Steel. Black Steel would say,
is the problem really democracy or just bad governance, right? And what other solutions would the person be offering, right? I don't think that democracy is inherently a bad situation, whether it's Africa or not. What is democracy? Democracy is defined as rule by the people, right? The people who are ruled should have a voice in their government, right? I don't see the problem with that. So it seems as if he's complaining more about bad governance. That could be under any system, whether it be an African system or any other system. If you have politicians that are not representing the will of the people, then that's the problem. I think sometimes we sort of caught up in words. Yes, the word democracy is a Greek word, first practiced in Athens and back in the day, but the concept of rulership by the people, that is not a European concept. That people should have a voice in their government is not a European concept. So I just really feel as though this issue is more of corruption rather than the system itself. I don't believe you should throw the baby out with the bathwater. so to speak. Are there some good things you can take from democracy? Absolutely. But it requires an educated populace. Number one, you need people to be educated. And that's one of the key. That's how you make a democracy work. If people are educated and they're knowledgeable about the rights. So I only say that to say I think maybe his issue should be with maybe fixing the problems within their government, not the entire system of democracy just not working. What is he supposing to go back to a monarchy? What other government system is he recommending? Is there a system he recommends that people don't have a voice in their government? That people don't have a chance to shape the laws and that they have to live under? I don't like that. I don't like that. I think that leads to more oppression of the people, which is exactly what we don't need. So that's just my thoughts. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Black Steel, I'll just add this.
Of course.
I'll just add this. I think the issue, and Trigger's dropping some gems in the chat. I think the issue is I don't totally disagree with you, except that the way democracy is designed, it is the thing that allows the worthless leadership to come into power and the cronyisms and all that kind of stuff. Also, with the so-called democracy as it's painted, like I kind of alluded to earlier, the guy who has the bigger bag of money behind him, the bigger engine, the machine, he or she is going to become the leader of that country. And what we've seen in the continent, in Africa, and even some parts of the Caribbean, is you got these outsiders who are funding these guys all the way into leadership. And once these guys get into leadership, it's absolutely horrible leadership. What I think is being said is, and Trigger, I'm going to read one or two of his comments in a second from the chat. But I think it's being said that if you have a good leader, for example, like a really good leader, you need to give that person time to develop the ideas, the policies, etc., for the country to thrive. But with the what do they call it, term limits and all this kind of stuff, and these short windows of rule, and with the cronyism that goes on behind it, the good guys usually don't get voted in. They don't have a chance to improve upon these countries. So all you have is these two-party systems in most cases that you're just going back and forth with these empty promises and this, that, and the other, while the countries are usually so low. Take it from me. I come from a country like that, right? I think that's the issue. I think a system where the people get to choose their leadership is cool, except for the fact that what's happening is, like I mentioned, votes are being bought. People are being given turkeys and hams and all, and T-shirts and all kind of shit, weed money, just to vote for the guy or the gal who ain't gonna do nothing for the country. I think that's the idea, Black Steel. Do you want to say anything to that?
No, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, it just speaks to a larger issue that votes can be bought, instead of. And the thing is, are the people fully organized within that country to take advantage of that system? And it sounds like the only ones organized are the politicians, and the people can't really enforce their will on the politicians, which is a clear example of corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I was saying sometimes we got to get to that point, like Traore and them, to put it bluntly. Sometimes you got to go in there and drag these motherfuckers up out of there, Let's hear from Real Black Gentleman, RBG. What say
you? What to say? I got a lot to say, because it's like I agree with a lot of things. Initially, if you do have a corrupt leadership that is talking out the side of its neck and is basically saying one thing and doing something else, we have the people. I mean, depending on the population size of country, I mean, it could be, you know what I'm saying, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and so it's like the people is a very subjective thing. In an ideal world with multiple democracies beside each other in view of one another, you would learn from other countries, and then you wouldn't need all this time to train, because you would have a professional class of policy makers who understand what policy means and the purpose of it. You don't need anyone can make policy. I mean, it's not something that, you have to have information and things like that. And I think that it has to do with having an informed population. In order to do that, you can't necessarily have so much entertainment. The thing is, in a lot of countries, is that they'll do both. They'll give you all the information that you need to actually make a decision amongst yourself to the best of your ability. And in an ideal situation, you know what I'm saying, we're just 10 people voting. And it's like, is it going to be, you know what I'm saying, how many people it's going to be? Once you have the multiplication factor, it does get tricky. Now, the buying of votes, the bribing of soliciting of votes. I don't know if that hasn't been going on since the beginning of times, since the beginning of democracy. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, it'll always be like, look, I know that you want to vote this way, but look, let me give you these goats. You know what I'm saying? And dude, if you just give me these goals for this one vote, so that, because we trying to do this, I know that you want it the other way, but let me give you these goals as consolation. It becomes a consolation prize in effect. You know what I'm saying? It's wicked, and it's like, in modern context, you can take the free turkey and then vote for the opposition in any case, right? But it's just the fact that the facts aren't really out there. And in this modern age of information, there's no excuse for having shit out in quadruplicate to each citizen just as a public expense. It's like the post office in America. They're gonna privatize that. The whole purpose was to make sure that everyone in this country has access to a form of mail, which was, the modern media back in that day, right? So it's like it's things. It's like, again, corruption's corruption. Politicians that, hell, George Washington was the whole general. It is what it is. It is what it is. He was the old general, could have stayed forever and ever and ever. But for whatever it's worth, them white folks and they biases, they had an organized system, even if it was amongst themselves. You know what I'm saying? If black people just had, the whole thing about two-party systems is that if you're gonna do that, we'll do it. But just make sure that, you know what I'm saying, you got paper, you got mail. You know what I'm saying? You organize people, have mailboxes, little things like that can be done. Civics is a motherfucker if you just organize the people by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, addresses, mailboxes. These are little things, people might overlook, but you got to be able to organize your people to put things to order. You just can't be wherever you are down the street. And it's like the third house is that White House. That can't be your address. It just don't work like that. It's things that I'm sure, and a lot of things, it's like things that come full circle. Just like I said, I have a lot to say because, again, I want to say that it's the whole military aspect. At some point, if it is a people's army, and even people in the military, just inherent soldiers, again, you know what I'm saying? You're a soldier, you're a whole person, right? And if you do engage in a coup, that doesn't take away your personality, your whole personhood, your whole sense of civic, even though you're a whole soldier. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't, you know what I'm saying? You can civic and be militant and be martial at the same time. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. There is corruption, and it goes back to, probably France and them paying. You know what I'm saying? They paying people, and then that's where it's funny how they'll have money. Again, you have money for the elections, the whole big party, and then after the election, nothing happens. Naturally, it should be the opposite way. where it's just like the election is the most somber thing in the world, and it's just done with the most basic of precepts, pen and paper, you know what I'm saying, in a box with everyone's eyes on that. No mistakes. We know, you know how to vote. There's no games. You know what I'm saying? It's try. You know what I'm saying? It's a try. It shouldn't. It just should be. You know what I'm saying? And then after the vote, everyone, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and you got this bread, and you can go ahead and keep doing what you was doing. And people just made the adjustments. Democracy, man. It's like, and the thing is, like, when people talk about Greece, Egypt founded Greece. Yo, like, again, history was always stolen and remixed. You know what I'm saying? Egypt had the whole Mediterranean. I swear, like Troy and all that. A lot of that was black people from Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not like assume that Greece equals all white forever in wherever, because for real, like Crete and all them islands. Of course, African people sailed the Punt. If they could sail the Punt, of course they were sailing the Carthage and probably off the Black Sea. That's why they call it the Black Sea. You know, come on, man. But that's my point, man. I think that, again, if you have the corruption, military corruption is military corruption. I mean, you had Patrice Lumumba voted in, military coup. You know what I'm saying? Leader forever. Nothing good happened. He didn't train no one. I'm done.
Appreciate that, RBG. Real quick in the chat, Trigger Happy says Chancellor Williams and many other scholars have explained that black people understood people power before the Greeks came to study it. Early, he said Western democracy kills good policy by fixed short terms instead of continuous leadership. He says if a country has a good leader, that leader has to be there for a while to maintain power and policy until the next leader comes in that is trained and represents the people. Last thing he said earlier, sometimes to push justice and good intention, you have to tap into the tactics of corruption in order to bring about good intention. It applies to anything else too. I agree with all that you had to say. KW Don 7 real quick says anyone who subscribes to FBA ideology and led by Ming Slide is a geopolitical neophyte and doesn't understand global white hegemony. With that said, let's welcome in Icon Fire this week. Icon, how are you this week?
Hello, my people. Respect to you, Kwashi, Quaker. In Jamaica, we have a name, Kwashi. Yeah. There is no major power. There is no major power on this earth that got rich and in democracy. There's no major power that got rich. Now we know they're rich and they are in a so-called democracy, but they never got rich democratically. When in a democracy, they got rich in feudalism. They got rich under dictatorship and empires. You feel me? That's how they got rich. They never got rich when they were changing leaders every 5 years. They never did that. So Africa is not ready for democracy. White people have been studying democracy since they were doing dictatorship and monarchy and all that. They were studying democracy. You feel me? They applied democracy when they were ready for it. You feel me? But Africa is not ready for anything called democracy. You have simple-minded individuals, uneducated geopolitical individuals who cannot make steady decisions. If you have no concept of history, there's no way you can make a correct decision about your nation. You feel me? So I think Africa needs a dictatorship. Africa needs military rule. You feel me? I actually think that every boy in Africa should be immersed in military training as soon as he gets to 17. And I wish they could get to every African man. You feel me? Because what happened is we are too indisciplined as a people. The men don't control Africa in terms of real control. We're like boys in Africa. You feel me? And it's our mentality that's doing it. You feel me? Because we are not educated about geopolitics. You feel me? We don't think outside of a lot of Africans don't think some of them don't think outside of their country, some of them don't think about outside of their tribe and their neighborhoods. That's how they think. So they don't understand most of them don't understand geopolitics, and you're not going. Look how many. Look how long they've been under um the democracy, and all they're doing is rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. You feel me? As I said, as the dude said, 5 years is, if you have a good leader, 5 years is not good enough. You feel me? And then it's hard to get someone in this uneducated geopolitical world. It's hard to get someone to replace people like that. You feel me? I personally think that you should be an engineer or some type of engineer to be in politics. You're not supposed to be someone that don't have no paperwork about, in terms of, you don't have no paperwork about your trade. You don't have no trade. You're not certified for anything in terms of building anything. Well, why are you in politics? You feel me? Yeah, I don't think you belong in politics, because you taking a place where it's a place for someone who supposed to build. You feel me? And so if you are not, if you don't have that mind, you're gonna take building simple. So you need somebody strategic. I love the Sahel. You feel me? I personally think the Sahel needs to take things, since Mali is the second largest military apparatus in West Africa right now. I think they're the first, because there's no way Nigeria could be on top and have some dirty foot terrorists giving them trouble, killing their soldiers left and right. And you say you have the biggest military in West Africa, and America have to come and save you. You're begging America to come save. So I have doubts as to who is the biggest military. But what the Sahel needs to do is, America France is going into Ghana to trick them, saying they're looking after mining, illegal mining. What's his name going into Nigeria to trick them to say they're hunting terrorists. But all they want to do is attack the Sahel. My solution to that is, you have to do a confusion routine. They have to enter the coastline in order to get you. So they have to pass through countries. So I think that the Sahel needs to target a lot of countries and unstable them. Like Cameroon. I think Cameroon, Benin, and Cote d'Ivoire and Sierra Leone should be targets for the AES right now, in terms of, you should look for when they are in session in the parliaments, and drop a big one in the parliament, hoping that the president is there. In Benin, Cote d'Ivoire especially, and Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, the reason is he has pure crackheads in his country, and be going after the Sahel. That's Madabia. Don't like him. You feel me? So if they do that, and is successful to eliminate maybe the whole parliament, including the president, or some of the parliament, including the president, that will give the Sahel. Well, of course, a lot of people will be angry and all that, but they are armed, so nobody. The Sahel needs to arm themselves that they get respect. You feel me? In terms of, because a lot of us scared of America because America is armed that way. You feel me? So we need somewhere in Africa to we need a central area in Africa to drive fear in the rest of Africa for for positive decisions towards that entity. You feel me? And I think that now when they do this, if they do these activities, then it will confuse the country and also confuse France and the US. They're gonna have to try to stabilize these countries after this happened, because now the government is practically null and void. So they have to be they would practically back away from the Sahel in order to try to manage these countries that their government has just been eliminated. So, if you may, because what happened now is arranging another government system. If you may, the Sahel can institute ways to make a Pan-African government be installed in all these countries. And that is what you would fight for. You feel me? But that would take a lot of pressure off the Sahel. I think that's the only way to take certain pressure off the Sahel at this point. Go ahead, my people.
And thank you for that, Icon. One thing Icon said there, that I've had this thought in recent years too. I've never spoken about it because I said I wanted to look into it some more. But like personally, like in the Caribbean, and I don't mean no offense to any of our brothers here, but I think it's enough with the lawyers as political leaders in those countries. I really do think it's time for,
most definitely, yes.
Yeah, it's enough with the lawyers now. I think it's time now for, like Icon alluded to, it's time for the builders now. It's time for
the engineers,
things of that.
Mechanical engineer, construction engineer for president.
Yeah, I think I think it's something to that. I think it's something to that. But let me go to Buana next. Buana, what are your thoughts on all of it?
Yeah, so listening to Icon, I agree with 95% of the things he said. And the 5%, I'll get to that. But for me, I am anti-democratic. You know, the whole idea of one man, one vote is a ridiculous idea. Really, because of the same reasons that Icon Fire explained. It's no way. See, I used to live in London, this brother tell me, say, Buana, the masses are asses. The masses are asses. It's no way when you have a well-informed person who understand the state of affairs in this country, right? He get one vote to elect a leader. So he gonna think in his brain, and he can say, what is the best for my leader for my country? But in the same respect, the man who's drink rum, red stripe, and drink rum every day, he have the same vote. Just as the well-informed person. And unfortunately, in a society, some of these societies, in particular the Caribbean, we outnumbered. The uninformed man, the man who easily manipulated, you know, he have the larger numbers.
Idiots are more. Idiots are more in the Caribbean.
So they got elect a leader based on feeling and sentiment. all money, by the way, all money, because they get bribed. Do you know they get bribed? They get bribed with weed. As Coco was saying, they get bribed with food, turkey. Let me fix your house. So in that scenario, you can end up with a ridiculous leader. It's the same way in the United States, where
In Africa, it's a
I
bag of
listen
rice.
sometimes. I listen sometimes to this guy named Parker Gets a Job, and he is debate with the MAGA people. And when you listen to them, I say, oh my goodness, I didn't know the United States people were so uninformed. I say, no wonder why they select a PDF felon for their president. No wonder, because they don't know what's
Hold
going
on.
on.
You know, most Americans don't know geography. Like they don't know like the Caribbean and all that. They don't
Some
know the
things I didn't know,
island.
Icon. Some things I didn't know. I think Black Steel been helping me in telling me, Black Steel say that the American public is the most propagandized people. I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was the most informed, personally. But let me say this though. Like, this is one of the reasons why I am completely anti-democratic, because I feel when the British, what happened is the British Empire, when they was controlling these areas, and then the black people gained so-called independence, quote unquote independence. The British is a wicked country. They ain't gonna just leave your country full sail. They gonna leave a poison pill in your country. And the
Yeah.
poison pill they left in terms of how to run the country was the so-called democracy. Yeah, I mean, that's the poison pill. So the people will argue forever without getting anything done.
But look,
Done. Now in the country right now,
we
hold
have
on, Ike, let me finish this. Hold on. Right now, you know who running for parliament in the next election? Rick Fox. Now, because you say engineers and the lawyers should be out of it. And the issue I have with that is Rick Fox, who is a multi-millionaire now, he trying to run for office in the Bahamas. I don't even know if Rick Fox ever spent 1 year consistently in the Bahamas. He don't really know the needs of the people, but he won power, and just off of the fact that he have couple $1 million, and people know he is the bag, he'll get in office. Now, how is it this man have the idea to run and govern a society or create laws that are going to be beneficial for people? That don't make no sense. You know what I mean? He have no reason to be there, bro. But because he have money, he could get elected. He's a basketball player.
Hold on, boy. I've heard everybody saying this, but first of all, if you don't want democracy, then what's the alternative? Number one.
I would say this. And this is the reason why I disagree with Icon. Because Icon see the dictatorship. And I know he made a benevolent dictatorship, a nice person. I would say this.
Of course,
yeah, but
of course.
Where I disagree with that is I don't like that
dictatorship.
Yes, I don't like the idea of one man. I would rather a group of elders, people who live in the country, people who have a vision for the country, people who say, we want this country to grow in a particular way. We have invested in this country. We have worked in this country, and we want to see certain things take effect for our children and grandchildren. So it can't just be one man. I don't like the idea of one man. And they will vote. They will vote. Let me finish. Let me finish. They'll vote. They'll vote in terms. They'll vote in terms of policy and what they want for the, and all of them have the equal amount of power, not no one man. And what Black Steel is describing when he say the people, right? I know what he means. He's talking about a well-informed group of people who understand the affairs of the country, who understand their rights in the country, and who understand their obligations in the country. We don't live in that world. The world we live in, we know we live in a society where we have the majority are the most uninformed people who can be manipulated any day, anytime. That's not workable. Because you see the results in the Caribbean and you see the results in Africa. You see the results. So if you don't have that, until you are able to educate your people in a way that they are well informed, I would say this. I would even go so far as to say this, and I know this could be controversial, especially for my American brothers. If you don't know in terms of what your constitutional rights are, if you don't know what the separations of powers are, if you don't know certain things and how the government is functioning, you don't get to vote. How about that? How about that? Now people say, well, you take tests to do that, eh? Take tests to do that. So my American brothers say, well, we was tested and they manipulate the test, so we ain't into that business. I ain't into that business in the Caribbean. Because I don't want no dumb person electing another dumb person to run over me, to run government over me. I don't like that idea because I see the results of that idea. You know what I mean? So I like I say, 95% what Icon File was saying, yes, but I don't like the idea of one benevolent one man. No man, you have to be a shared thing where we collectively we agree, and then we go out and do certain things within the country. I'll leave it, Coco.
Good discussion, man. In the chat, I gotta get to provide triggers for evolution. I gotta get to her commentary here. She said, let's be honest. Even in the West, democracy as implemented is questionable. Candidates are selected by corporations before they are elected. There is much corruption, too, in Western democracy. She goes on to say, and this is a question to the panel, she says, wouldn't the panel agree that the system of governance in the U.S. is more of a plutocracy than it is a democracy? And one can argue the U.S. population is quote-unquote educated. I wouldn't say the U.S. population is educated. She goes on to say, Western democracy, in my opinion, is a total failure as it is now implemented. Is ICE raids in the U.S. a manifestation of a democracy? She says, what has democracy produced in Africa post the independence epoch? She goes on to say the AU, because of its majority EU funding, is not doing its job, which is to study alternative systems of governance for the continent. African psychology is not conducive to Western democracy. So I'm going to throw that to the panel in a second, everything that she would have said, but I just want to throw in here something that KW Don 7 says. KW Don 7 says the government of China is comprised of engineers primarily, as opposed to the United States of America, which are made up of lawyers. Not just the U.S. And I know KW Don 7 knows this, but like the Caribbean has mostly been lawyers who have been in control. But I do like what Buana said. In fact, I agree with Buana wholeheartedly. I think there should be a council of people who are knowledgeable about the conditions, the environment, the geography. You know, I think about Amilcar Cabral. When he went into power, he was an engineer, by the way. But when he went into power, he studied the geography of his country. He knew the ins and outs of it. He had it written down so people could reference it, make decisions based on it. I agree with Buana in that the one person thing, we don't really need that one person thing anymore. A council of real people who, like Iconfire would say, are builders, people who understand food and how to feed the people and, you know, things of that nature. I think that's what's more conducive. I'll throw that question from let me just put it up real quick. From Provide Triggers for Evolution. Do you guys agree that the governance in the U.S. is more so a plutocracy than a democracy? And can one argue the U.S. population is quote unquote educated? Anyone could answer at any order. Go.
Well, I would agree with the U.S. being a plutocracy, because what is a plutocracy? It's ruled by the rich, right? Absolutely. So the mechanism. So here's the thing about the United States, because a democracy don't always mean fair. Democracy just means a voice of the people, right? The people rule. But which people are we talking about? So the United States was founded on a who could vote when the United States was founded? Rich white men who own property. So even at the beginning of the United States, everybody couldn't vote. That's right. So, and it was to be in place to where the majority rules. So if you have a situation where the majority wants something, no matter how evil it could be, that is in fact democracy. So, but you have a situation where in our United States, usually the more the people want something, the less likely it is to be passed because the oligarchs have captured the the apparatus of government, all the branches, right? So the will of the people gets denied in American situations. So yes, I would definitely agree. Um, that is a fact about a plutocracy.
I don't think there's a difference because in a democracy, it's the rich that rule. And in whatever that she said, it's the rich that rule. So I think it's more of a kleptocracy because in Africa, it's only thieves. It's the thieves and the scumbags that they overwhelm innocence. They overwhelm um 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 honesty. So the good people are being shot, stabbed, just overwhelmed, put in the background. So you have great doctors, you have great engineers and great educated people in Nigeria, but still they have Tinubu. You feel me? Who has an artificial qualification. So it's just thieves and scumbags that the Europeans want to rule Africa. You feel me? The democracy, it's not going to work for Africa because of too much external information in because of money. Too much external people is in our business or can come in our business. You can see we're still colonized because they can send orders. They can send orders through news. They can send orders through all type of routes. They send in orders. You see how they come into the Sahel. It's because they are colonizers and they are losing the grip that they have in their colonization status in the Sahel. So what they're doing is trying to maintain it. That's why they're coming back so much. Because so it was all a trick. We are all still colonized in the middle of colonization. Jamaica, all of us. Listen, we have not won anything. These people not going to give us anything. So we are POWs, bro. I'm telling you. We still work in the same plantation. It's just a little bit more money, but it's still the same plantation. And we're paying bills to the same people. You understand? And they own all of the general stuff, like the water facilities and the electric grid and everything. You feel me? So we are really, really deeply colonized, and we think this world is normal. You feel me? But that's why they gave us democracy, because they want to trick us to make us think that we have rule, but we don't. And they write our constitutions. These people are totally involved in our constitutions. Africa needs a new constitution that says it is illegal to enslave anybody black, but slavery is legal. You feel me? Africa needs big changes in terms of anti-whiteness. If Africa don't become anti-white, we're done for, or anti-Arab. We're done for. Because there's no way we gonna cohabitate with these people unless we conquer them. We have not won anything, and that's what's going on. It's evident, it's evidential to us that we are under these people, and they still have leverage over us. We don't have politics. We have dictatorship, and it's European dictatorship. You feel me? We are not capitalists. We are philanthropists. Africa is a philanthropist country. You feel me? Forceful philanthropism. That's what Africa is. They are being forced to be philanthropists. You feel me? If they were capitalists, no one robs capitalists. Capitalists rob people. So if Africans or their governments was capitalist, they would be trying to rob Europeans and Arabs, not the other way around. You feel me? So Africans are only capitalists with other blacks. You feel me? Because I don't know where that come from. It's colonization, but that's what's going on. So we're done for in democracy. You feel me? America in 1980 in Jamaica, they sent men to burn a whole old golden age home with people in it. You feel me? In order to demoralize the people against the government. You feel me? And they made a lot of our people suffer because they want to change the regime in Jamaica. So we are totally colonized. They got successful and changed. America changed the government in our country. You feel me? So we have big problems, and we don't have a choice, because that's what is going on in the Sahel, where they are trying to force them, telling Mali, oh, you have to stop talking to Russia, and you have to make us give you military support. You feel me? That type of rude behavior, that's what they're giving to us. So and they're not scared. So we need to prepare for war. I tell Africans, y'all trying to live in peace and live in harmony now. Bitch, you ain't, sorry. You're not going to live in no peace. We need to prepare for war. All of Africa need to prepare for goddamn war. You see me? War. We need to Africans are not serious. Nobody outside of black people should be comfortable in Africa right now. Nobody. That's my last statement. If you miss my people, bless.
In the chat, Provide Trigger says, on Democracy Now!, a recent interviewee noted that every U.S. embassy in Africa has CIA assets impacting all African elections. Let's not fool ourselves with the notion of African sovereignty. Trigger Happy adds U.S. embassy and bases. But Bakari says, I agree with ICANN. That has to be a first. I gotta give that some juice.
Respect, brother Bakari.
Last thought on this is from Provide Trigger. She says, African sovereignty at all levels is foundational. A place to start is at the educational level, where epistemological sovereignty is key. That's why I said at the start of the prompt, if you notice, no one talks about African-centered education, because they're following the script. They're following the program that was, like one of them said, that was left for them to follow, which is keep the people kind of dumb, keep the people rowing back and forth between two parties and who's who and all that foolishness. But nothing really happens. Nothing really changes. Man, that was a real good discussion from you guys. I hope everyone spoke their part. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3, though. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says the alt-right you haven't heard about. The alt-right you haven't heard about. This is going to be an interesting one. Let me just say this right now. This takes us to an article. Got to make sure you guys can see it, just so Jacadero knows. Whenever you put up like a share screen, you have to go in and hit add to, what's it called again? Let me see. You have to hit add to stage when you do it. So just so you know.
Loud and clear.
Yes, sir. So you see the title, the alt-right you haven't heard about. If you consider Black women to be unwavering bastions of progressive thought, I'm going to disrupt your programming. As inspiring as it can be when Black women are on the liberal side of your favorite ideas, they are not immune to becoming a part of the white nationalist propaganda machine. Divestors are what happens when the alt-right meets Black women. There has been a great deal of discourse.
Look here, Bukhari, you're not gonna like this one. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, there has been a great deal of discourse about the overlap between incels and white supremacists, but divestors, Black women who represent a form of gendered fascism, are one of the most recent groups to join the alt-right sphere. If this seems alarming to you, it should. Black women are not immune from fascism, and no, I'm not talking about Candace Owens. This community is far more than one person and very accessible. I want to make sure that people understand what the alt-right is, because even though it is invested in white identity, it does not have to be white people who enact it. The same is true for any system of oppression. Quote, the alternative right, commonly known as the alt-right, is a set of far-right ideologies, groups, and individuals whose core belief is that white identity is under attack by multicultural forces using political correctness and social justice to undermine white people and their civilization, end of quote. The Anti-Defamation League defines it as the alt-right, short for alternative right, is a segment of the white supremacist movement consisting of a loose network of racists and anti-Semites who reject mainstream conservatism in favor of politics that embrace implicit or explicit racism, anti-Semitism, and white supremacy. Divestors retain the set of far-right ideologies, believing that Black women are burdened by the Black community, specifically Black men, and should divest as a form of Black woman empowerment. They go by a few names: divestors, Black women go in their own way, which is BWGTOW, divested zealots, plus others. I won't be linking to their pages. They are easy enough to find. They present themselves as a self-help community, recruiting women who have often experienced real trauma, encouraging Black women to decenter male attention, prioritize health and self-care, and to broaden one's horizons through international travel and intentionally hypergamous relationships, often leading to the promotion of interracial relationships as a form of hypergamy. End of quote. It doesn't sound that bad, but here's where the fascism and femcel parts kick in. Where incels have created an elaborate sociopolitical explanation for their sexual affairs with women, these women have also created an elaborate sociopolitical ideology centering on the idea that Black men are worthless, and hypergamy through interracial relationships is the best form of social mobility. This is combined with the ideology that Black men have abandoned and rejected them, which gives them justification for their anti-Black misandry. They're really just sharing good old fascist talking points, though. This is how the alt-right pulls people in. It sounds reasonable in the beginning, responding to the ways a particular community has been disaffected. Then it begins to devolve, syncing up with other alt-right beliefs and behaviors. Our previous election cycle set the historical precedent for this. The Trump-era populism was bolstered by growing resentment among white populations that felt neglected and ignored, specifically after the tenure of a progressive Black president. The alt-right was able to ride this wave of discontent from the undercurrent of white sentiment all the way into mainstream conservative ideology. The growth of the alt-right includes the ways that it has learned to diversify, becoming more and more of a multi-racial right, with marginalized communities bolstering their ranks as a part of their rebranding efforts. The Proud Boys, particularly the ones in Florida, represent the ways that systemic grievances can be shifted into a hateful agenda, much like the way that exile politics moved some Cubans from conservative anti-communist positions to join the ranks of Proud Boys. Divestors transform fighting misogyny into a realm of fascism. Here are some of the terms that they use for black men: nakers, bullet bags, felony fairy, conquered male, apes, nignogs, nigcells, gorillas, didn't do nothings, and Tyrones. By the way, if you're in the chat, drop any of those names you've heard directed towards black men before. The women that defend black men are called mammies, pick-me's, and guard dogs. They use terms and phrases like Blackistan to refer to black areas, struggle love to describe dating a black man, and burn the cape to advocate against defending black men. One of their favorite phrases is the use of holding black men accountable when referencing any violence that black women experience at the hands of black men, often going as far as to advocate for more black men to die at the hands of the police. They use hashtags like not your mule, hashtag not your mule, hashtag divest, hashtag burn the cape, hashtag divest or die. The biggest problem with divestors is that they market racist ideas about black men as black women's empowerment. You will have writers, bloggers, YouTubers, and influencers who are divestors, as well as people parroting divestor talking points for engagement. Individuals who are divestor adjacent will stop just short of saying things explicitly racist and will delete their comments if they get caught openly expressing their disdain for black men. Now that I have introduced you to the divestor sphere of influence, let me explain to you how it impacted advocacy for black men. During the BLM movement, divestor rhetoric began to infiltrate progressive spaces, shifting the focus from the leadership of black women to the divestor rhetoric of women wearing capes for black men. There have been many protests and rallies where women would begin a dialogue with community by talking about how tired they were of advocating for black men. This represented divestor rhetoric becoming mainstream because instead of disengaging from advocacy that included black men, activists would show up to protest against police brutality, expressing disdain for black men, or discouraging people from focusing on the victimhood of black men. Oftentimes, these sentiments would not be very different from the police departments that were being protested against. It wasn't happening everywhere, but it was enough to see the impact of online divestor rhetoric around being mules for black men and burning the cape. Phrases like black men are the weakest links and black women are tired of caping for black men, moving from simple statements of frustration to calling cards and viral trends on social media, often instigated by divestors. These takes often come with the glorification of white men as the alternative to black men. Rather than directly stating white identity is under attack, divestors say they are being attacked for seeking to quote-unquote date out into white identity through hypergamy. Alt-right logic twists the act of uplifting the unique issues of black women, transforming the sentiment into the extension of racist ideas towards the rest of the black community for the benefit of black women. It's an alt-right funnel that works the same way with black women as it does with everyone else, targeting those who are disaffected by social issues or seeking a path out of isolation. Divestors will continually create points of antagonism in discourse around the black community, taking any instance of violence by black men or a viral interracial couple, black woman and white man, as encouragement for black women to, quote, go their own way, while attempting to convince people that their fascism is reactionary because black men hate black women. What makes divestors alarming now is that they lean into the ways that society attempts to uplift Black women. Mantras such as hashtag Black Girl Magic, hashtag Black Lives Matter, and hashtag Trust Black Women began to overlap with fascist ideas like hold Black men accountable, burn the cape, and Black men are the weakest links. This resulted in people with a very large following being allowed to say things that were pretty overtly racist towards Black men, while doubling as being uplifting to Black women. Divestor logic allows for one to have white supremacist ideas about Black men while having progressive ideas towards Black women. While it was alarming to me, I don't believe that people were recognizing the contradictions or how dire they were to the condition of Black men. No advocacy for Black women requires anti-Black misandry. The same way that Black male studies can create a whole field that explores the victimization of Black men without engaging in misogynoir. This infiltration into the mainstream was done through the same tactics as any other fascists, making fake accounts, antagonizing Black women, creating YouTube content, blogging on alt-right sites, creating groups on Reddit, making TikToks, and engaging in all forms of disinformation. Some might say divestors are a brand of radical Black feminism. I don't know, but my inability to tell where one ends and the other begins speaks to how ingrained divestors have become. Women in general don't engage alt-right ideas the same way men do, which is why it goes under the radar. They will never commit a mass murder or blow up a building. They don't go to rallies. They are far more private, but they push ideas, especially on social media. Carolyn Bryant, the woman who is responsible for the death of Emmett Till, is a white supremacist, and she likely wasn't involved in any direct physical violence towards Black people. At the same time, if it wasn't for her behavior, Emmett Till would still be here. Divestors engage in white supremacy the same way. We have to be more aware of the ways that people are being pulled into the alt-right. People can date who they want, but in this case, there is so much anti-Black misandry in divestor ideology, I would be lying if I called it anything else but white supremacy. For those still struggling to understand how Black women can be on the alt-right, I will leave you with this. If a divestor's white partner engaged in all the same behaviors that they did, said Black men are worthless, called them nignogs, talked about divesting from the Black communities, said Black men are bullet bags, constantly brought up burning the cape for them, and said Black men are nothing more than violent offenders who rape and kill Black women, what would you call them? Exactly. This was written by Martin X on medium.com. I hope I read that well enough, everyone, to follow along.
That was great, man. Shit.
I appreciate
that. Was
that.
A great analysis.
I appreciate it. I'm going to come back to you later because I think your take
I'm not
is going to
say
be
nothing.
Your take is going to be interesting. So I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to start with Real Black German. Real Black German, what say you to what I just read?
I get it. It's like, how do I say it? I wouldn't overstate it. It concerns me. I don't want to see women like be all up into that. But again, it's kind of like, how do I say it? I know it's some wickedness out there that people are talking. I've seen it, I've heard it. I know it's not like actually like, you know what I'm saying? It's not put on, but like, again, it's like, I wouldn't overstate. I want to overstate it. I want to say it's like epidemic or anything like that. As far as like the whole like, you know, Black men or anything, again, it's like I've seen it. I've seen it. The bullet. I've seen it. And it's not fun. It's not fun. All I can say is like, you just, for me, I compartmentalize it. That's all I can do, because I recognize that's not like what everyone's looking at. Not, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of people will see that and be repulsed by it, you know, rightfully so, and keep pushing. I mean, I think there's a, like he was talking about, like there's a spectrum of it. I get that. The whole like divesting thing. I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying, like I don't know anything about that. Like I don't want to depart from blackness. I don't want to do that. That is not what I want to do at all. So it's like I kind of wish I had time to go back on the last subject, but I'll just pass, because I it's like I know what I know about it. I just know
them.
that
You are still black. You are still black. Speak against them. Why not? They exist. If they didn't exist, don't say nothing about them. But as long as they talk and exist, speak against them.
all right, I can do so.
Go ahead.
I think that they're disgusting. I mean, I think that they're being swayed naturally by you know what I'm saying, miseducation, you know what I'm saying, self-hatred, you know what I'm saying, just the whole complexes of you know what I'm saying, that
inferiority. Yeah,
they're not fighting against it. They part of it. I mean, it's like, you know, there's nature versus nurture. I can only, as a person, I can only give someone so much bend against like their own personal like decisions, even if they try to define it to me, which is something contrary to what I would see. It's like you can't sit here and say that I'm worthless and that, you know, someone else is, just inherently because what we shared, you know, the self-hatred is hatred of what would make, hell, I mean, you can't make another black woman without a black man. You know what I'm saying? You can't, a black man can't make a son without a black woman. It just doesn't happen. It just will never happen. And you don't have one kid at a time, so it's a 50-50 chance. So if you don't get your baby girl, you gotta keep trying, right? So it's like I'm just saying, you can't yeah, I know I feel like there's a lot of like again, like a lot of this is extreme. It's definitely extreme. It's being amplified, you know what I'm saying? All the language models, you know what I'm saying, pick up on that, on the conversations, and it's just like you'll be seeing like screen names like random something -X8 capital X, lowercase j, k. It's goofy. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of you know what I'm saying? The whole you can't fall for it. I don't even like engage with it. I don't like go to those channels. I just hear about that secondhand. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'll be seeing other people reporting on these channels. I don't go to their channels, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, it's out there. I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Whoever's going to check them can check them. But like, look, if that's how you feel about me, like, I'm not checking for you. I'm just going, you know what I'm saying, watch my, you know what I'm saying, just keep my eyes on you and make sure, you know what I'm saying, I keep you, like I say, in that category, you know what I'm saying, that box, clearing my field of vision far away from me. That's all I got to say. Hey, I'm going to say this about that last topic. Look, Africa, you could do it in 10, 20 years if you put the fear of Amun in the people. Put the fear of Amun in the people and see Africa just don't consolidate and just want to be just like that mass. I'm telling you, I agree with Ikon on that. You know what I'm saying? And then after, you know what I'm saying, a good period of time, you know what I'm saying, you know, things are sort out.
Yeah, just two quick things before I go to Buana next. Two quick things. I posted this to the Discord, and I want, if you have topics you'd like to discuss, if you're not on the Discord, join the Discord. The link is in the description. The second thing, this was posted on Twitter. I'm pretty certain this was posted in response to the conversations a week or so ago that were calling Patrice Lumumba a PDF file, as they say on the internet street. You guys know what that means. Saying that he married his wife and she was only 14 or something of that nature. So someone brought this along. So I just wanted to point those two things out. Real quick, let's go to Buana, man. Buana, what say you?
I just have two quick points, and I'll be done. So and I'll be easy with this because Brother Bakari tell me, say I need to be easy. You need to be easy. So I can respect Big Bro and how I handle this. So two quick points. So the divestors say that we apes. This week, the President of the United States put out a picture of Barack Obama, who the FBAs would call a tether, and his black wife, who's an FBA woman, as monkeys and apes. Your boyfriend and husbands and side piece who worships the alt right and say that people should look at that, they think the same way. See, Barack Obama and his wife is one big black person to these people. So if President Trump see Michelle Obama as an ape, what you think your boyfriend or husband think about you? The same way. That's the first point. The second point is this. Exactly what it is. If you could say Patrice Lumumba is a PDF, right? 29% of the American male population, they say 29%, but 71% is PDFs when they talk about crime and statistics. So if you think you live in your best life and crossing over, congratulations, you played yourself. Because if you think that that's heaven over there, just congratulations. That's all I gotta say. I'll leave it for whoever want to go.
Let me just say that another interesting point in this article too, something to consider. You notice he said something along the lines of women don't express alt-right opinions the way men do. A lot of it is private. A lot of it is private. Let me say it one more time. A lot of it is private. We got to keep that in mind. Let me hear from Black Steel next. Black Steel would say it.
Well, unfortunately, I'm familiar with these these divested people, right? Um, this is really nothing new, to be fair. We've always had some small elements of black people who want to escape from being blackness. This being black is not a walk in the park. We live in an anti-black world, and there's a lot of black people who want to escape from it. If anybody remembers, the Matrix, that one dude, he was like, "You put me back in a pot, and I want to be rich, and I just don't. I just want to live my life. I don't want to be involved in any of this, because it's hard." Huh?
Eat a prime rib steak. I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. So he was willing to sell his own people out just to get back in the system, right? And that's kind of what the whole idea of divesting is about. They see the problems of the black race predicated on black men. Again, it's this whole feminist ideology where you have the major contradiction is between male and female. True Pan-African, and we understand the true contradiction is the color line, like Du Bois said almost 100 years ago. So these feminists, they come up with this idea that, first of all, it's predicated on a couple of false beliefs. Number one, the belief that black women are doing so well, right? And as black women are just doing so much better than black men. And that's not really true. That's not really true. And it's really done as a way to kind of cast dirt on black men. And they'll point out various statistics and various findings and whatnot to justify their hatred of black men. But again, they never seem to have this same analysis for other races of men, and particularly white men. White men do more heinous crime to their women than black men do. But yet, for some reason, that gets whitewashed. White men have a great PR. A white man can kill his whole family, and he won't be seen as a monster. So these people who claim to want to abandon the black community, I say let them. I say let them. I don't want anybody around me who don't want to be around me. So if you want to go and you think that living on the other side, living with white people in the white community is so great, go live there, right? The problem, I think, is these people hold these type of views around our people, around black men, and then they live in the community. They're your nurses. They're your teachers. They're your the cashier at the grocery store. We don't know who harbors these secret beliefs as they move on. They move in the community. That's my issue. If you hate Black people so much, if you love the other race, you want to divest. But the problem is that the white men ain't picking these women. They'll sit up here and they'll say all this stuff about Black men and still be single. Where is your white man? Why are you not with your white man? If that's what you want so badly. No, you want to stay here like a viper at the breast and continue to spread your poison. When you can go be with white men. There's no shortage of white men fucking Black women. That's not a rare thing. That's a rare thing of white men marrying Black women. That's the problem. Especially you have a white nationalist government in place that's saying that the white population is too low and we need more white babies. So what's he going to use a Black woman for? What's the actress from Martin recently came out and said she had a relationship with Brian Austin Green? Yes, the one who played Pam. Yes, and she said she knew he was gonna turn. She was gonna have his fun with her, but when it came down to settle down, he was off to a white chick. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. So these women who can't want to divest or whatnot, go divest. And shut the fuck up about it. But the reality is that there's nowhere to divest to. Most Black people end up in relationships with other Black people. Yeah, people want to point out the outliers, but if you're not in a relationship with Black men, then you're not in a relationship at all. This is a clear example of low racial esteem, and you focus it on the males in your community. Yeah, I'm done. Thanks.
Good stuff, Black C. By the way, Black C, you mentioned that they could be nurses and this, that in the community. Unfortunately, they could be your aunt. They could be your mom. They could be your sister. That's another part we don't consider a lot of times. Jacadero, the alt-right you haven't heard about. Shoot the breeze topic number 3. What say you?
The alt-right. By the way, that was a tough listen. It was a great read, but it was a tough listen. Hearing you read that article. I'm
Jacadero is saying you can't read Coco.
No, it was more of a tough. It was more of a tough listen because it just sounds like that came from. That doesn't sound like it came from a Black woman. I refuse to believe that a Black woman wrote those words. It's very.
And that's the problem right there. And that's the problem.
So my take on this is I don't know who said it in the panel already, but yeah, if you wanna go ahead and open your legs to the Pink and the others, go ahead, do it, please, because as a brother, I don't want to deal with somebody like that anyways. A woman like that, I'm sure you will give me hell. You'll give any of my brothers hell just because of the color of my skin. And it's stupid. It's like, it says a lot about you more than it says a lot about what you're trying to say about a whole gender of men. It says that you like they say what misery loves company. So this woman that wrote these things, whether she's a Black woman or not, you just sound miserable, and it sounds like Black men are running in your head rent free, and it's like, what are we supposed to do with that? Like whoever it is that hurt you, just go to that brother, just ask him what was wrong. And then second thing is like, if it wasn't a brother, go see if go apologize to your dad. Go forgive your dad. Not apologize, but go forgive your dad. See if your dad will apologize to you about whatever it was in the past. Because it sounds like you're holding on to stuff that has nothing to do with the rest of us. I did also see that Lumumba, I'm going to call it a rumor, because it just sounds like people are now fishing. It sounds like this whole Epstein Files thing is the Me Too movement part 2, and it's coming back with a force. Now we're like looking at things that might not even be there, might not even be close to being there. Lumumba marrying his wife when she was 16. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Hey, I want to say something about that.
Yeah, go ahead, man. I'm done.
Quaco, could you look up the age of consent in the
Yeah, brother.
United States?
Brother. Next time, don't cut a man
Sorry.
off like that. Like your time is
Sorry.
time is coming up. Okay, the age of consent is it varies. It's about 50. It's 16 in most places, and
No, in the
16.
1930s. In the 1930s.
Oh, well, that's different.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Go ahead.
Sorry, my bad. I just said everywhere.
Yeah. I can't look it up right now, but it's your time now. After Jackadero's done, it's your time now to speed the shooter breeze topic number 3. I'll try to look it up on my phone while you're talking. All right. I can find it's your turn.
You don't want to let him finish? I don't think he was finished.
No, I can't. It was pretty much done. But just long story short, for these women, I don't believe that they really exist outside of the internet. I say this because I belong to a Black organization. We'll talk more about it towards the end of the show, and all the women in our organization are married to Black men. This doesn't exist. All the things that we put on here in Omaha, Nebraska, especially towards North Omaha, I only see Black couples. So it's like, where are these women? That's why I don't believe that a Black woman wrote this. It sounds like this was the race of a different woman. That's it.
All right. I can
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. My brother that just spoke, you're very naive. You feel me? and
Woo! Go ahead, Ike.
So if you want to know if there is if you want to know the status of a woman's brain, you look what she wear on her head. You feel me? So and you look how she dresses. That's how you know the status of a woman's brain. And if she dress skimpy and all that, she don't have much morals. If she wears a wig up in wherever you're saying upstate right there, if she wears a wig, she's a white supremacist. Her husband could be black as night. She's a white supremacist. As the dictate says, women don't offer up radical outright behavior. So that's that, right? We need our woman. That's why we have to go against their inadequacy. You feel me? Because we need our woman. It's not want our woman. We need our woman. You feel me? Women are very, very powerful. Even more powerful than men. All right, a man might have to work hard for his, but a woman can get rich without working hard. That's power. You feel me? A man can't be around the children 24/7. So the woman can teach the children to be loyal to her and not the man. That is power, almost absolute power. So knowing that, now you can know that the woman can raise an army of idiots, male and female. All right, to put it less radical, she can, our equally radical. She can raise a race of black white supremacists. You feel me? It only takes her 18 years to raise a black white supremacist. So go look at them basketball dudes that be marrying white women. Go look at their mama. Go look at their mama. And she might be with a black man, but that's a white supremacist walking. You feel me? She just look black, but she white actually. And that's why, and she trained him to like that and those. So she raised him to prefer a white woman. You feel me? Black men are loyal. If she had raised him to love his type, he would have been with his type. But the woman is so powerful, she gets to train the man and the woman. You feel me? She gets to fabricate your mind. So that is how we need our woman, because all the shooting that our women are more gangster than the men, because they are the ones who made gangsters. They are the ones who produced them. She showed them the avenue and the mindset to have for a gangster. She just too weak, but he's operating with her brain. Actually, we are slaves. We are former slaves. She don't care about that. The black woman don't care about our in general. The black woman in general, not all black women. You feel me? They don't care about the fight. You tell them about the fight, they start yarning because it's boring. You feel me? They don't care about the fights. Why isn't black woman, that's my business. I don't care about women in general, but black women, why aren't they protesting against strip clubs? I said it. There is no female protest against strip clubs, but it sexualized them. Because black women are driven by finance, actually. You feel me? They have a lesser brain power. Even raw materials in the earth black women don't see that as value. I mean, the finished gold, they see it as value. And the ring, the diamond in the ring, they see it as value. But the diamond in Botswana, they don't see it as value. You feel me? And the raw elements or whatever, the rare earth, they don't see these things as value. So that's why Africans are so lacking. Because they have careless mamas. You feel me? That only value what white people have and what white people give. So they only value the US dollar, which is paper. They don't value the earth, which is real value. So that's how women are tearing us up and tearing us apart, because they look, as I said on this panel, you have been doing this panel, Quaker, for about 5 years now, right? You hardly have women in your panel. They hear it. They listen, they browse past it. They seen it. They seen it. You feel me? But you see, like how I come in and I browse past and I see it and click because I want to speak to my brothers who is royal to me. You feel me? Just because of that, why I click on your channel, and because we're in the same fight. But our black women are very distant from these things. They want to hear gimmicks and comedian stuff online and anything to get them away from real matters of our people. I'm talking about the majority, like 90%. You feel me? They don't want you to talk about, oh, do natural hair or none of these things. In Africa too. And they raise these men to as an army to protect them. I'm telling you, woman is very, he said, outright. The women are very outright. They secretly have a power struggle with black men. Black women want to rule black men. Women want to rule, but I'm just dealing with my people. If you may, and they don't understand that we starting from the ground up. That's why they want us to stay in the Babylon society, which is already built. They don't want to prepare us for us to build our own society and all that stuff. So, because they're far from it. And I'm not blaming my women or my people. They are colonized. And since slavery, when the white man used the four horses to tear the strongest man four ways, it traumatized the black woman and had her raising us to eat from the master's hand like a donkey, like a horse. You feel me? Where the wild horse, once you tame the mother, the baby, the pony, once the mother start eating out of your hand, the pony, which is wild, come and eat out of your hands too. You feel me? So that's what happened to us as even black men. You feel me? Where our moms are raising us to hold our head down to the white people. You feel me? And to operate on a level where we are under the white people. They don't put us on. They don't. They. It, but all right. Why isn't Asada Shakur black woman's hero and in every black woman's apartment? Why? You know why? Because she is a woman that is on the move against white people. And that's not what black women want to do. They don't want to fight these people because they have been scared. And even now they are powerful. So a lot of black women don't want to do that because they are scared. So I think we as black men, I love the Sahel, worship the Sahel. I hope they are real Pan-Africanists and they keep being Pan-Africanists because we need a ruling black population where black men can have some dignity. Okay, thank you.
I gotta give it to Ike and Fire. He kind of surprised me there. It wasn't as bad as it was gonna be. Ike asked me to look up something, and I did. KW Don 7 looked it up. He said 16 was the age of consent in most states in the U.S. pre-1960. But what I found was in 1880, the age of consent was 10 to 12 years based on the state. In Delaware, it was 7.
Okay.
7 years
okay.
Older. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
So I'm glad y'all look at that because I was like, they put in blame on Patrice Lumumba, but it was a thing. All of that was a thing. It's the United States and Europe changed the age limit and to 18, and it's recent, like since 1960.
Yeah, a lot of people's grandparents, if we're being honest, a lot of people's grandparents and great-grandparents, they was married all 13 and 14 and 15 and stuff like that, if we're being honest. But me and Brother Bakari had a discussion about this last week amongst ourselves of you can't really hold African traditions and view it through like a modern European eye. You just can't do it in any event. With that said, Brother Bakari is with us tonight. Brother Bakari, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. Would say you, but before that, how are you this week?
I'm absolutely magnificent, my man. How about you? How about the panel?
Sir, I'm good. Thanks for being here.
And you know what? Icon said 90% of black women, as if he know 90%. You made everybody on the panel dumb. But I ain't gonna take no more shots. But some of the stuff you said, you blamed a black woman for her child marrying a white man when the black dad ain't around. And I hate when weak ass black men do that. And I don't even want to argue with them. I'm gonna get to the panel. Dude, black man and black woman together. If the man is not there, don't blame the woman for the man not doing his job. Is there some messed up black women? Yes, there is, but you can't blame the woman for the man not doing his job. That's all I'm saying. You cannot blame her for that, for him not being around. And it's not always her fault. Sometimes it's her fault, sometimes it's not. But to say 90% of black women feel this way, to me, that's a very dumb statement. And I'm just being honest. I ain't saying
how much percent wear wigs?
So I'm gonna say that was a dumb 90%. He say 90%.
How much percent?
So now,
what's the percentage of black women that
article,
wear
right?
wigs?
So Koku, what year was that article written?
Let me look quickly and see. It was written in 2022.
Okay, so everything in that article come from YouTube bullshit, right? So here's me. Everything they were saying, talking about divestors. How many people have you met in real life talking about they're divesting? It's YouTube shit. And we have allowed YouTube to control our narrative of our own people. It was a conversation that we was having, Koku, when we was talking about the interview with the Pivot Podcast, what they had with Terrence Crawford, right? And when they asked Terrence Crawford, why won't he go back in the ring for $100 million? Terrence Crawford said, because he don't want him, and he got morals, right? So, but Channing Crowder said, he said, not for 80 million, 100 million. He was like, no. Channing Crowder said, for $100 million, they can have his soul. Terrence Crawford told Channing Crowder, now I know who you are. We see your character. So watch this. He can say 100 million because he's a guy that played in the NFL and probably made $50, $60 million throughout his career because he was pretty good, right? He was a first round or high second round draft pick. So he said 100 million. Now we got people out here who have never seen $5,000 in cash. They'll take $1,000, take $5,000 to get on YouTube and say this nonsense that the Cynthia G's of the world was saying, and she had her little women minion, and even had some men repeating what she was saying. But in real life, on the streets, the same thing Black Steel would say about the FBAs and ADOs, I don't never see them on the streets. This is just YouTube stuff. Show me the people you see in the streets in real life telling you they are divesting, black men ain't nothing, go abort black babies, go get you anything but a black man. We have allowed social media to control how we see ourselves. And I'm going to agree. I didn't speak when you were speaking, Icon.
I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you for a second.
Brother. Have the same respect, my brother. I ain't saying nothing when you was talking. I agree with Jack O'Darrow. I don't nearly think it's as many. The number is not as large in real life as this social media want to portray it to be. He can talk about the black women he around. I can talk about the black women I'm around. Y'all can talk about the black women y'all around. So if you around black women who don't have that mindset, Black Steel, Koku, Bawana, Jack O'Darrow, me, RBG, if you are not around black women with that mindset, What make us think that it's a lot of black women out here like that? Yeah, you're gonna get somebody who's willing to sell you out, and you can get on social media, and I'm gonna say whatever, you know, a lot of that stuff bots on the internet. Yeah, do I believe some of them bots? Yeah. Is there black women out there that don't like black men? Yeah. I don't hang around those black women. So what? Like, I'm not a fan of Serena Williams or Venus Williams. I'm not a fan of those women, but it's way more black women that's opposite of Venus and Serena and Cynthia G and her minions than it is like Venus and Serena and Cynthia G and her minions, and even some of the black men that followed Cynthia G that want to say black men ain't shit. Just like if somebody's just sitting on here and gonna say, ooh, that's the same thing those type of women would say, oh, it's 90% of black men. And that's, you don't know that. Stop just saying stuff to put one another down, then say, we need our women. I can't tell somebody I need you, but then sit here and shit on you. But I need you. But the whole while I'm telling you I need you, I'm going to tell you what a horrible person that you are, because I'm going to groom you. It's not just the black woman that been scared of white folks. It's the black man that been scared of white folks too. It ain't just the black woman. Yes, did the black woman do some things to protect her son, to protect her children because of what was happening during slavery? I'm quite sure what was happening during Jim Crow. I'm quite sure. And guess what? And for people who ain't never lived that lifestyle, I'm glad my mama was willing to protect us when my dad had to go do something and white folks come kicking in the damn door. I'm glad I had somebody that was going to protect me when my daddy wasn't there. But we know when my daddy came back, we know what was going to happen. I'm glad I had somebody to protect me. So to act like she did something wrong for protecting her child from harm is absolutely, that's just ignorant. That, to me, that's just ignorant. She's supposed to protect
you're not listening correctly, man. I wasn't fighting. I'm just showing you
I'm not fighting
scenarios
either. I'm
of
just
where
speaking passionately, and I didn't speak while you were speaking. I'm not fighting either. I'm just saying some of the things that we have allowed to control us. Just like I would sit here, if somebody, can't nobody tell me black men ain't nothing, black men are worse daddies. Those divestors can't tell me that, because I'm not going to sit here and believe that. Because I'm around black men and see black men all the time. That's great fathers. It's not just black women I defend from this nonsense on social media. I defend from nonsense. But to act like this is the majority of black women, to act like it's the majority of black women, and now these people writing articles about people like the Cynthia G's, and we go, see, the black women, they doing it in private. So if they are having these conversations in private, how were they able to write the article? They were able to write the article because of stuff they heard on social media, and we are allowing it to control us. We are allowing social media to control our coming together, our doing the things that we are supposed to do in real life. Not just the black women divesting, not just the so-called black manosphere, even down to the point it is so-called FBA and ADOS nonsense, down to the point we're going to argue about who built the greatest plantation during Black History Month. All this stuff on social media and everything we'll find and fight is not bringing us together. If they want to divest, do like Black Steel and Jack Aduro and everybody else say, go divest, RBG, go divest. We don't want to be around you no way. Then I don't worry about them. I hear the mic.
Can I
Well said.
Can I?
Hold on. Let me hear from Buana first, and then I'll come back to you.
But he mentioned me. I wanted to just say something to him, not disrespectfully.
Yeah, hold on a second. Buana, go ahead, and then I can.
Quickly, Icon. It's been my experience. I can't talk for no man out of my experience. It's been my experience when I dated black women. They take on the man characteristics. So I'll take a school teacher who don't know nothing but nothing. You know what I mean? A typical regular person. And after a while, she can start quoting Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X, and I'm asking to myself where that come from, because usually they take on the personality of the man they with. I don't know why that's like it is, but it's just like that. Now you have some battle axes out there who always opinionated, and I'm not saying women can't think for themselves, but they always opinionated and they always want buttress and compete with mine. That's just not been my experience. That's just not been my experience. But usually, a woman can take on the characteristics of the man she with. Now, when you see the Cadmus Owens, she is married to a white man. When you see the Serena Williams, she is married to a white man. So eventually, they can start having their partners talking points, especially if he's a man in his house. They gonna start having their talking points. That's all I wanted to say. And I gonna fire go ahead, brother.
Thank you, Guana. I want to say something about social media. A lot of people think it's some slight stuff. Social media is the soul of the people. It's like when a person is drunk and they tell you the truth. That's social media. Social media is when a person speaks their real, who is real. It is the real person talking on social media. It's not a pretender. When you when you go naked in your house, you are not pretending. That's how you want to be in your house, in your privacy. So that's you. But when you go through the door, you practically start pretending. There's a bunch of stuff you can't say. You feel me? Because it might cause fury. There's a lot of stuff you have to just regulate yourself on around people, because people might be sporadic and all that. So don't play with social media. People is being real. You feel me? People is being who they really are. So if they tell you on a general that, oh, we like divesting and all that, that's the real person. And if you might see them out there and don't know, that's that person also. You feel me? So if I'm not saying that majority woman is a divester. You feel me? I'm saying that majority women are white supremacists. But they don't tell you. Majority of women don't tell you, hey, I love white people and the white society. Majority of women don't tell you, but they tell you in their action. They'll tell you in their action. When a woman, what you call lives in her wig, she's telling you that she don't even think God finished made her. You feel me? She think that God never finished made her. Of course society dictated to women to be ashamed of their hair and all that. You feel me? What I'm saying is in this present day that that's still a fight. So if you don't want to fight for your hair, you feel me? If you are relinquishing the fight for your natural hair, then I wouldn't trust you. I would eat from you, but I wouldn't trust you in terms of loyalty to your blackness and loyalty to my blackness. I wouldn't trust her. You feel me? Because if it's like the white man and the black man, the woman and the black man is together. But when it comes to making a choice between the races, she gonna choose her race. So that's what I'm trying to say about our black woman. If it comes to the point where she have to choose between white white colonized structure and fighting for our black autonomy, she will turn her back on you. She will turn her back on you. And 90%, because it's right in front of our face, right? Where you have Pan-African black conscious values, trying to persuade black people in America right now, and back then, trying to persuade black people in America that this is the way. This is the way to even have the mentality to educate your people, even independently. You feel me? You have to have the mentality. And our black women club the whole of the 80s. They club out the whole of the 80s and club out the whole of the 90s, freaknik the whole of the 90s and all that. They have listen. I try to tell Bakari, you're not just a man. You have been raised by the woman. We all have been raised by the woman. The woman dictates how we think. If it wasn't for a few of us falling through the cracks to consider black consciousness, none of us would be operating under black consciousness and Pan-Africanism. You feel me? We a lot of people have to practically go against their aunties, mamas, and all these type of female.
Icon.
But what I'm trying to say,
that mommy was Rasta. That mommy was Rasta.
No.
Okay.
No, my mom is a Christian and I had to oppose her. But I love her. You feel me? But what I'm trying to say to you is when you see a man, don't just look and say, oh, it's just a man. He has a will. So he might not have free will. He might be going after every man. Children live what they learn. You feel me? And children learn what they live. So that means when you become an adult, it's what you learn as a child that guides you throughout your life. So if the black woman haven't endorsed black consciousness and Pan-Africanism, which is the answer for black people, you feel me? If she hasn't endorsed that and gifted to our children, you feel me? Then she has to be blamed also. Because Asada Shakur was there as our female black hero that went to Cuba and escaped the white assassins. You feel me? And should be a black woman's hero. We have Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey, and they are famous people. You feel me? So what I'm saying is somebody is rejecting these things. You feel me? So the black woman is alive and well, and she speaks and have command. So as long as she's in that position, she should be blamed also for our problems. You feel me? Because she raised these men. Okay, go ahead.
Watch this, right? So I was raised.
Bakari, real quick. I just want to say one thing. I just want to say something real quick. I gotta give Icon a little bit of credit for something he said, and we gotta be real about it. Trigger Happy in the chat said it as well. I had it on the screen for a long time. A lot of us men who are pro-black, Pan-African, Garveyites, you wouldn't know that we were that on these jobs that we work on. You wouldn't necessarily know that the way we would just walk through the street to go home. But the internet does allow you to sit behind a profile picture and spew all manner of nonsense. So there is something to that idea that, sometimes some of the stuff that we see online is people's true character. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the chat,
right. It's the naked person.
In the chat, Trigger Happy says we need to establish something about political positions. You aren't going to get someone's political position only by real life interaction. The internet exposes extreme to consciousness. Bakari, go ahead.
Okay. Well, whoever that is can't let nobody know they pro-black, Pan-African at work or walk down the street. I ain't saying nobody should do what I do, but that's kind of like their business. Whoever ain't showing nobody. And you're right. Somebody can, but to say somebody can get online and put an avatar, but to say 90% and then just say it's the black woman that raised the black boy to marry a white man, and these men can tell you to marry a white woman, but then they can tell you their daddy wasn't around, and you just blame the black woman. To me, that doesn't make sense. And I'm gonna say it again. And by the way, I was raised by my mama and my daddy. You said we was raised by women. I was raised by my mama and my daddy. I can't speak for nobody else. I don't know. But then to say black women ain't pro-black Pan-African, then you say Assata Shakur. We can say Mary McLeod Bethune. We can say Fannie Lou Hamer. And if you go on and we can say, where were the black men that I can say Fannie Lou Hamer, because she was a good friend of my pops. Who protected her when she was in jail and black men was forced to beat her at gunpoint and then white men sterilized her? My point that I'm making is, if we continue to point finger at one and say the one is doing this, you ain't gonna ever come together, dude. So people talking about how they love black women, that's just bullshit. And how they want us to come together. No, they're doing everything in their power to divide by constantly saying, this is the woman's fault. Then the women gonna say, then the women is gonna say, this is the man's fault. But ain't nobody gonna ever say, you know what, we failed, black man and black woman. Because we're steady pointing fingers at one another.
That's all I'm saying, man.
We failed as a people. It was things we didn't do as a people. What we are doing, we go to victim blaming, right? We go to victim blaming. They victim blame the black man. Like, I don't listen to that. I didn't listen. I heard them people talk about divestors. I never sit and listen to a show. Never. If did nobody ever play me a clip or let me hear it, I wouldn't know it was ever said. You know why? Because for me, there was no need for me to act like I'm going to be involved in that conversation and just listen to people that want to upset me. Let them go. The ones that want to be there, let them go. But to say the black women clubbed out in the 80s, they were not in a club by themselves. The black women was at Freaknik in the 90s. They were not at Freaknik by them damn selves. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's why I say black men like that just want to point
you. I can't believe you, Bakari.
They looking for something to be stronger than. They scatter the white man, so they feel they're supposed to be stronger than their woman. If you want your woman with you, go get your woman and bring her with you. Putting her down, telling her she ain't shit because she got a wig in her head and maybe she don't know any better. Or her sitting there talking about the black man, saying the black man ain't no damn good because he did this and did that. That ain't gonna bring us closer. There's no need to get on here or no panel or nowhere and talk about unity if we ain't trying to figure out a way where we can talk to one another, not control one another, not put the black woman down, not the black woman put the black man down, not us fighting one another to be in charge of one another. We ain't gonna ever come together and do nothing. We'll be talking like this 75 years from now, because ain't nobody ever said, you know what, maybe we do need to talk to one another. Maybe we need to get an understanding, not on social media. Let's get an understanding with the people in the street. Let's get an understanding when we go out here to the Malcolm X Festival, to the Marcus Garvey Festival. So the type of sisters you're talking about, you want to see all natural, you want to see dressed a certain way, go to the places where those women are and build with those women. Or we can sit back and say all black women ain't nothing. 90% of them done fucked up black society, which is absolutely asinine. And on the other side, they gonna say 90% of black men, which is absolutely asinine. But if we ain't trying to figure out a way to talk and communicate and say we're gonna come together without trying to show I'm the biggest boss, I'm the biggest badass. My woman won't control my woman. My woman want to control me. But if we stop and talk, you really, that white boy and that white girl controlling all our asses, and we scared to talk about that. So I'm gonna bring my fear and put that on my woman. I'm gonna punk her because this white boy got the control.
You need to speak logically.
Shit.
It's
crazy.
We've heard a lot from Bakari, and I appreciate Bakari coming up here as well as Icon. Does any other members of the panel want to add any last thoughts to this prompt here?
Yeah. Jacadero here. To ICANN, ICANN, you had said that, and I don't want this to be a back and forth. ICANN, I just wanted this. You said that I'm ignorant, or no, naive. You said that.
Naive
on the portrayal or the way that I may not be aware.
No, how you think about our how you. I'm not saying that our woman. Listen, I love our woman. I'm not saying that we should destroy our woman. Right. I'm saying that we should acknowledge things about our woman and try to change it, because these things are sending us down the drain. Go ahead, sir. Sir.
I mean, listen, I've always said that that I don't know everything. So maybe I haven't come across those women. You pointed out that, the women that wear the wigs, the women that dress scantily or just come off, for lack of a better term, ratchet, right? Ghetto, here in the United States. Yeah. Interesting, in my city, the women that do dress like that have the hair like that, they still love black men. They're in black spaces. So I get what you're saying. It's like, hey, they're destructive. I don't know if maybe that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying it don't matter if they are with black men. Of course, no, all of black women wouldn't be with white men, but it don't matter. I'm trying to say that where their loyalty lies is with white society, in terms of going against the grain. Black women don't want to do that, so they'll marry a man who is also not pro-black. You feel me? So they like a man who don't have an aim or a destiny outside of finances. That's the typical black woman for you. But if that Negro has black conscious views and black conscious motivations, most black women is not going to have interest in him. Most black women.
Why he gotta be a Negro?
I'm a Negro too. It's just our name sounds sweet, so I say it. You feel me?
I'm done. I don't have any more to add. I appreciate it. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A little contentious at the end here, but I think it still was a good conversation. I think a few things can be true at the same time. I was going to do another prompt, but it's almost 11, so I'm just going to end the show here. I was going to do the Epstein prompt and whatnot, but we'll talk about it next week, as well as the Guyana prompt as well, a follow-up conversation. Some of the takeaways I took from this last topic is, I think we underestimate social media a little bit. I think we don't realize that social media allows people to say stuff they wouldn't necessarily say in person. And like Trigger Happy said in the chat earlier, because it's private, like the article mentioned, we don't know. We can't quantify if it's 90%, 10%, 50%. We just know that there's a number of women who have these divested thoughts They may not be able to pull it off in the real world, but they think about it. Just like there's divested thoughts amongst men. But I think the thing, and I agree with Brother Bakari here a lot, I think we do have to have these conversations. I think that we have to have them privately. We could have them on platforms like these, but I think we have to have these conversations on both sides, because I don't think Black women are alone in the problems in Black society. I think Black men are a problem too. And we need to really dig deeper and figure out what is it really that's the problem from Black men. What is it really that's the problem? Now, a lot of people are going to say, sorry, Black men is the problem. And because of Black men, Black women act. Me personally, I don't subscribe to that. I think you have agency, just like I have agency. I think we both are problematic, and we need to figure out the root. I mean, we kind of know the general root, but we got to figure out specifically how can we all be better, right? So I think it was a good conversation in that sense. I don't agree with this notion, and it is out there by a subgroup of women that Black men are bullet bags. And earlier I talked about the tweet from last week. A Black woman apparently says that she ain't gonna lay up under no Black man in charge. She'd rather stay up on the empire. I mean, that happened. We can't say that didn't happen. And if she said it, who know? And a lot of people retweeted and agreed, by the way. We can't say that it's not a thing. We can't say it's not a problem. But we also have to address the log in our own eye as Black men. We haven't done our part too. You know what I mean? Before you guys leave tonight, man, I'd like everyone to give a shout out for the week and talk about the positive things that they saw or experienced in their neck of the woods, or something that they saw within the Black world, man. Let me just go straight down the line. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
I want to shout out the youth, man. Black History Month. So the young people, we got to let them know they're going to inherit the earth. There were some protests across the United States. Some of the young people decided to walk out of class to protest their various issues. Whether or not I agree with them or not, I applaud their fighting spirit. So shout out to the young people.
That's a nice shout out. Appreciate that, Black Steel. Thanks for being here. Real Black Gentleman, what would you like to shout out this week?
Well, I found out, I guess, the modern toilet was invented by a Black man. His name is Thomas Elkins. I did not know that until just a couple hours ago, right? But you know what I'm saying? Black people invent, you know what I'm saying? We tinker with it and we get it to the point where, you know what I'm saying, we need a toilet. Black people won't invent a toilet. Black people won't invent everything. Especially, I'm telling you, after the Civil War, it's amazing all the things that we invented at that point in time that still exist. The refrigerated truck. I mean, it's a truck or it's a refrigerator, but you got to put them together to make them do what it do. I mean, I'm telling you, I got to keep it cold. I got to keep it cold. It's like, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give a shout out to Bakari. Just as a side, you said something weeks ago. I know we squabbled, but you said something months ago that I wasn't too sure about. You had said that the Russians had colonized South Africa. I wasn't too sure about that. You was absolutely right, sir. Yeah, they did that. That's messed up. I'm glad that you stood by that then, because I did my research. I found that out too. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you for, you know what I'm saying, colonized.
How they not speaking Russian?
I guess RBG learned that Black fact while sitting on a toilet earlier. But thanks for that, RBG. I can fire. What would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, thanks. Shout out to the Sahel, because I noticed that a lot of guns came in just the other day. So shout out to the Sahel for that. You feel me? Also, there's a little kid, a 22, 21-year-old Rastafari kid from Ghana. He's in the University of Kentucky, and he I don't know, he made a computer brain using, I think, 3,800 capacitor or some type of stuff. You feel me? But he actually made a computer brain, so it's on the, you can check it up on YouTube. That's what he did. So shout out to that. All right, that's it.
Appreciate that, Icon. I did see that story, by the way. So shout out to that young scholar. With that said, Brother Bakari, what would you like to shout out this week?
I'd like to shout you out. And shout out the panel. And I know you said it was a little contentious at the end. There was no contention. But anyway, I'm gonna shout out all the beautiful Black conscious sisters that you could go out here and meet, who want a real strong Black man and who feel the same way that we feel. And in these trying times with them trying to tear down everything, I'm gonna shout out Black Steel and people like him. And what I mean by people like him, real educators that care. Because I know it's about to get harder and harder and harder, especially if he's trying to teach some Black history. They trying to make everything hard. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Black Steel and these teachers and these Black teachers that's gonna try to hold it down. And because right now they are trying to take away the Black history. And then one more shout out to everybody who's not on social media arguing about which group of Black people built the best plantation for white folk. I hear the mic.
Bakari. There's something Bakari said I was gonna say something to, and I forgot now. Maybe I'll remember it later. Jack Cadera, what would you like to shout out this week, my boy?
I'd like to shout out.
What prophet?
Vana, come on, relax.
Vana said chapati. Shout out chapati.
Vana, come on, relax, man. Come on, relax. So, big shout out to each and every one of you guys, the men and women that continue to come to Shoot the Breeze, to share thoughts, comments, concerns, also question. It's one thing to have your own opinion. It's another thing to hear somebody else and ponder and say, you know what, that might be another way to look at this. Because at the end of the day, we are all individuals living separate lives. And so we might not see things the way that the next person sees things. Since we are all about the Pan-African collective and the empowerment of African people globally, it's always awesome to hear each and every one of you guys, to hear different thoughts and beliefs on what it is, depending on the topic. So big shout out to each and every one of you guys. I also want to give a shout out to, for those that don't know, I'm based out of Omaha, Nebraska, the Omaha, Nebraska home of, Buena loves to give me flack about it all the time, but the champ, Bud Crawford, the retired champ, come on, retired undefeated. You understand? Like, and pound for pound, he'll probably go down as, if not the all-time in his weight class, the best boxer, hands down. You understand? Again, in his weight class. We can talk about different weight classes a little bit later, but I represent Omaha, Nebraska, and we are home to the Empowerment Network. It's the largest Black organization here in the Midwest, and we empower you. That's right, we empower you. So if you are in real estate, finance, health, any of the trades, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, we want you. So that's Empower Network, and that's www.empoweromaha.com. It's a new website. The website has been refurbished. It looks nice, And if you go to it right now, that's right. If you go to it right now, you might see me. I mean, I can't tell you what I look like, but I might be in one of the photos, huh? And so Empowerment Network, we have sister cities that we contract with. That's Lansing, Michigan, Tulsa, Oklahoma, home of Black Wall Street, Syracuse, New York, New Orleans, Louisiana, Kansas City, Missouri. One of the awesome things that we had at the last Rebuilding a Village conference was out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, there is the only Black grocery store owner come up to Omaha and talk to us about how he can expand and possibly build his grocery store across the United States. And so if you look up the only Black existing grocery store existing, again, not owned by the city, not owned by a subsidiary, no, solely Black owned out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, he came up to Omaha for our Rebuilding a Village conference to talk about how he can go ahead and maximize this and scale this and have franchises owned by each and every one of you that's listening. Maybe even you, Buana, in the Caribbean. How about that? So again, that's Empowerment Network. That's empoweromaha.com. Please go ahead and reach on out, and we'd love to see you at the next Rebuilding a Village conference this year.
As Buana would say, if you go on the site and you see a fellow holding a chapati, that's that's Jacadero right there. But anyway, Buana, last but not least, what would you like to
Yes,
tell us?
sir. Yes, sir. So first of all, I'm a big believer in organization, and Jacadero always promotes his organization. So anyone under the sound of my voice, please support Jacadero's organization. He's doing great things in Omaha, Nebraska, and if you can, financially or even in terms of deed, work, effort, or whatever, please support his organization if you can. Happy Black History Month to all my American brothers. As a Gaviat, I celebrate Black History Year all year, every year. But happy Black History Month to my brothers and sisters in the United States. I know it's something of significance to them. So happy Black History Month. To my brother, Icon Fire. It's a lot of Rasta sisters in South Florida, a lot of Rasta sisters in New York City. I don't know if you in them areas. I hope that you could hold on to one of them. You hold on to one of them. And just to remind my brothers and sisters that every Black man is a star. Even though they talk poorly about us, we the most wanted human beings on the planet, especially in terms of women. Believe you me, they talk a lot of nonsense, but when it all boils down to it, every Black man is a star. And you should embrace your stardom. Embrace your stardom. Because they could talk all the mess they want, but if you pull them on the side, things is happen. Things is happen. So, embrace your royalness, embrace your stardom. And, it's always going to be bums out here. It's always going to be some bum chicks out here who trying to talk negative and talk crazy. But when it all boils down to it, they friendless. They really wish they had a man. They want a man. They hungry. And they just talking out of loneliness. A lot of these sisters talking out of loneliness. And unfortunately, sometimes in their relationships, they don't have the best relationships. So at the end of the day, you got to listen to yourself. You got to listen to yourself, because the truth of the matter is every Black man is a star. We the most wanted man on the planet. Despite what the propaganda says, we the most wanted man on the planet. Believe it or not. So protect your legacy, choose wisely in the woman who you decide to date or marry or have a relationship with, and move on. These women they're gonna continuously be out here trying to, side up to the plantation master, but that's just a few and far in between. The majority of our women, they love us. And they can't do without us. We are indispensable to the Black family, to the Black community, and to the Black nation as a whole. That's just what it is. So don't mind the noise in the marketplace, because it's just noise. It's just noise. So I just will remind my brothers of that. And I hope they have a good week next week and a productive week. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, shout out to all you guys.
Let
I'm
me say
sorry,
one
Bakari.
thing before you get off, Coco. I
Yeah,
want to say
but-
happy birthday to our brother Kofi. I think he said the day his birthday. Yeah. To our brother Kofi.
Oh, cool. Happy birthday to Kofi, man. I gotta shoot him a message. Thanks for that, brother Bakari. Trigger Happy in the chat says, shout out to Ghanaians for roasting Zambians who want to say fugu is a blouse, northern attire. We also established a visa waiver between both countries. That's really good. I saw a woman kind of roasting, talking about, do you have Joe off? But I didn't know what it was about. So thanks for bringing that clarity to that situation. Thank all of you.
Coco,
Yes,
before I go, one last thing, and I will remind the brothers of this. Any woman you with, if you with her and you talking sense, she can take on your personality. So if you a white supremacist, she could be a white supremacist. Even if you was a black man. Ask Tim Scott. If you was a black man true and true, pretty soon she can start talking like you and she can start acting like you if you talking sense. So don't worry about these people out here talking a bunch of white supremacist nonsense. You could take the most innocent, or let me say innocent, the most nonchalant, unaware person, and if you with her, and if you believe in certain things, she gonna start talking like you and acting just like you. So don't worry about the noise in the marketplace. I'll leave it, Coco. Sorry for cutting you off, bro.
That's it for tonight. See you guys next week, man. And you know what? Bring a couple of women with you. I'm hearing that there's a minority of women who think like the article was talking about. My appeal to y'all, bring a couple of those women next week to the program. You guys be good. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.